Here we go now. 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 Go now. now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Go now. Here we 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 go now. Make it clap.
Hello and welcome to PUBG Mobile Club Open Fall Split 2021, a huge big thanks to, of course, our official media partners. That's going to be Nemo TV. I'm going to be your host, caster, analyst, blogger. Joining us, of course, is going to be Ankit to take us through the journey, and it is going to be an exhilarating one. When it comes to Wildcard, the teams are certainly going to be sensational, Ankit.
I mean, exactly. There's no two-ways doubt about that. I mean, talk about the teams, the fight, and the randomness that game brings in, and more to be thought about the first day, the first game that will be taking its own course. So I'm pretty much excited. What about you?
Oh yes, most certainly. Because again, I mean, when you talk about what's on the line itself, what's on the stake itself, you have, of course, the massive prize pool to talk about.
Exactly.
That is it, but that's not it, though, right? Because along with that, the bragging rights, and again, getting a chance to be a part of course, PMPL Season 4. So that is a huge slot. That is a huge undertaking for these teams to participate into, and that's not going to be easy, of course, because as of now, we know for a fact that it is going to be, well, 4 games per day. But every single game that goes on along, the countdown has begun, simply put, right, Ankit?
Exactly, as you perfectly mentioned, the game will go in its own way, and the course of the game, let's talk about the games of Erangel, Miramar and Sanhok, but for now, it seems that we are heading towards the tournament explanation. Semi-finals, 32 teams, 4 groups divided into 6 different days. Today will be a day where Group A and will be B going head-to-head, and then tomorrow it will be C, D, A, D, that will come its own way, but every day, 4 matches back-to-back per day, and each team plays 16 matches, so a lot of opportunities, broader, I guess.
Absolutely, because again, I mean, as we were just talking about it, the countdown has begun for these teams, and eventually, when it comes down to this initial the front row itself, we, of course, as you perfectly mentioned, are going to be looking at the 4 groups, A, B, C, and D, who are going to be starting things off, and 32 teams are going to be the ones that participate. But from that, 16 will move on forth into the finals. Alongside all of this, of course, as we were just talking about it, the bragging rights, the prize pool itself. You've got a massive prize pool of $29,200 on the stake, but alongside that, as we just mentioned, the team that moves on to that first position by the end into the finals will be qualifying for a slot to, of course, PMPL Season 4.
Exactly. So every in each team will be getting at least $800 away for, if you talk about the top 16, but 300 from the group stage if the teams get eliminated, because at the end it will be the top 16 progressing towards that final stage. But for now, it is the point structure that we're having a glance upon. The first team gets 15, second 12, completely a similar point structure that every one of us are aware of and now acclimatized, but it becomes important. 1 kill equals to 1 point, and then there are some teams they play for 12, 15, 10 points, just get closer and closer down towards that last circle, survive at least with 1 or 2 players. But some teams go all berserk, 1 kill points, take 10 kill points, and then get eliminated at maybe 7th or 8th to 12th position and taking 12 to 13 points easy in its own way. But for now, it is going to be us that will be taking towards the squad roster for Group A, where it is the 4 teams on our TV screen, brother.
Absolutely. Starting off things, it is going to be KTM Rage along with Paradox, OCE, PUBG, indeed Minion, Esports, Cosmonauts India. Moving on, of course, with 6 Sense, Rogue Nation, Ixcel, as well as Straight out of Fiji. Now, these are the groups, teams from Group A. In total, we, of course, are looking at 8 teams right here. And then to complete the lobby, because 16 teams are going to be a part of it, move on towards Group B. We have Darksyde, NEPALZ, Team ZeroDeath, and Trex. Along with that, that's not it, because final 4 teams will be coming up on our screens, and again the conversation will be which of them is going to be illuminating in terms of their play. And starting off, of course, this list, we have Illuminate Crew, 4 Godawari Fighters, Team Ronak, and CNT Esports. Now these are the teams that we shall be looking at today, and in the games that will be played, that of course are going to be 4, as you mentioned earlier, starting things off on Erangel, following down to Miramar, Sanhok, and then come back to Erangel once again. So 2 Erangel opportunities, along with a little bit of variation between, of course, Sanhok and Miramar.
Exactly, the 4 games back-to-back, Erangel, Miramar, Sanhok, and starting things off with Erangel and ending things with Erangel. It is a decent way to start things and end things, but the void will be filled with Miramar and Sanhok. So each and every team will have their strong suit on Erangel, as we have seen in the past, but some of the teams really chime upon on these off maps, these Miramar and these Sanhok. Some teams really take those horrendous gameplay and those all going berserk, all YOLO gameplay, especially in Sanhok and Miramar. So I'll be really waiting to see how the team actually practices and how these actually teams try to find their metal out in all these 4 different maps, because at the end of the day, it will be just the 4 games for each and every team per day.
Absolutely, and in those 4 games, well, it is going to be stakes getting higher and higher and higher as we move on along from one game to the next. Of course, as we did mention, 32 teams are going to be participating in this opportunity, but of course, as was discussed in the finals, only 16 move on fourth. So right off the bat, from the first game itself, the competition is going to get fierce, and we shall have to keep a look on to what team are the ones that are going to be aggressive, what teams are going to be the ones that are going to be passive. Also, as you had mentioned earlier, the drop locations itself, right? Because they will be varying, but there will be contestation within that as well. And that is where things are going to get really interesting. Rivalries are going to get created, and that is where the storyline will lead into a complete different saga by the end of course, this stage.
Exactly, as I perfectly mentioned, a lot of drop contestation, I guess, that will be happening its own course, because since a lot of teams that will be playing the very first time in this lobby, some teams have been the invited teams, but some teams are really playing for the first time in all these lobby, and all this randomness brings and to one down 1 point, and that is going to be the drop contestation, the rotation that going to be cut off, and all these things. We're going to get to see a lot of fights initially happening at the start of the game, or maybe finding themselves on a passive side, maybe playing try to play on the right throughout the course of this match. But I'd really wait to see how the team actually strategizes if the drop location and the drop contestation is actually being executed.
Most certainly, and that is going to be, well, really crucial as well, because when it comes to the game, we do know that when it gets to the moment when the fight is about to start, right, that is when things get really, really berserk, because that is what the viewers are here for, that is what the players are into the lobby as well, to showcase that domination, to bring in that ultimate domination to themselves, to get those kills, and, well, again, just bring up the best element for themselves. In that, again, we shall have to keep an eye out for synergy. The conversations, right? As the fights are taking place, we shall have to keep a momentous approach as to what team are the ones that create that sort of a flank angle, which is going to be so very crucial for those fights to work in their favor. And that is something that, again, I mean, all you can say is it's on to the team and the conversation and the synergy that they're going to be having, and that is something I'm keeping an eye out for. What team is the one that will, of course, be showcasing that element today? Well, only time will tell. But right now, all I'm certain of is the fact that there will be a lot of fights, there will be a lot of contestations, and eventually, this being just day number one, the teams are maybe also going to be trying a passive approach to try and understand the opponents that they are playing against.
They need to at the end of the day, because they just cannot expect other team to be and survive on their mercy. Rather try to be try and trick all the contraceptive in their own way, in their own time, just in order to take the fight. Because right off the bat, you mean just expect some games to go on in its own way, but I guess they need to play the passively somewhere down the line at the end of the day, because as you perfectly mentioned, there will be a lot of competition, there will be some fierce competition that will be going on. But in all these things, Blood, I want to say the calls of the IGL, how he will be taking the course of its own game, what his will be the sort of strategies, what his calls will be throughout the course of the match when he is in the middle of all the fight, all 360-degree angles surrounded by all these teams. Because at the end of the day, it is the club open. Teams and people will not be finding themselves an inch and will be letting other teams to give their inch of land, because they will be fighting their heart out. And because at the end of the day, it is one slot for the PMPL, as you perfectly mentioned at the start of the game.
I mean, Season 4 PMPL stakes couldn't have gotten that higher as well. But now, bringing it down to the teams itself. I mean, when it comes to the chat, when it comes to the love that is being showcased, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about it. I mean, it is KTM Rage that has taken on a complete different domination into the chat, basically. But that is what the viewers are wanting to see. Will that be the case? Will it be Cosmonauts India that will perhaps be the one that will shine out start? What? It could very well be straight out of Fiji as well. So again, it is, well, one thing is expectations, and then the next thing is going to be, well, the actual thing that happens in the battleground itself. And in that battleground, it is going to get a bit nightmarish for a few of these teams, because when you've got the sides of course, Darksyde, you've got Illuminate Crew, you've got, of course, KTM Rage, CNT Sports. Well, it is going to be a
lot
bit
of teams,
tricky.
those who have actually a confidence and experience on their color, that will be coming into play for sure. But for some teams that are trying to be that real dark horse, trying to be just outshine the other teams, then it's the sample size that they will actually read upon all the teams that they have played in the past. And at that point, I guess they might be overpowered, they might be overplayed. But all these questions, I guess, that needs the answer. And the answer will be all the 4 games: the Erangel, the Miramar, the Sanhok, and the A day ends with Erangel. So a lot of opportunities, but a lot of things to talk about. But I guess if we move the conversation forward, there are a lot of drop contestation that we have seen in the past. If we talk about the city, Los Leones, it's a big city. So just imagine maybe 3 teams, even if they are trying to jump down onto the same area of Los Leones, there's still a probability that the team still being in the same area, still in being the same city, they still try to find themselves in a lot of truce, in a peace and settlement, and then try to just fall back and just try to make a fight in the later stage of the game. What have your say on this?
Well, I would agree. I would completely agree, because that, of course, does happen from one tournament to the next. When it comes to PUBG Mobile Battleground itself, the gameplay is, of course, forced to have these teams contest for those drop locations. And in that, when you talk about, of course, KTM Rage, I mean, that team has absolutely dominated the lobby, but we shall see if that will be the case for today. With that, let's get started off the entire saga with game number 1. Jumping onto our screens is going to be the flight path, and it is going to be an incredible view right here. When it comes to this beautiful game, we are going to be looking at a rotation coming in from the northern side, from Stalberg, going all the way down towards the military base. So a perfect setup for so many of these teams, and eventually it is going to be a conversation about, well, drop locations that are going to be, for example, I was just talking about KTM Rage. I mean, we've seen that team go down towards Georgia Pole South, and that is a, well, it's going to be a little tricky for them to try and get into towards that region, because it is going to be a little far out for that, a bit outstretched conversation for them to make that sort of a rotation.
Exactly.
But that does not imply that these teams have only one drop. They always do have multiple drop locations that they try and work towards, and that is the conversation that we shall have to try and keep an eye out towards, as to what sort of changes can we probably expect from these teams as we get jumping in with the first game.
I mean, exactly. As we have seen in the past, KTM loves to go towards the area of northern Georgia, but since the flight path is completely dominating on the eastern side of the map, straighting from Stalwart to Kamishki and finding themselves into the area of military base, a lot of opportunity for the teams that who love to go towards military base island. I guess it's KTM that will be jumping for sure, but I'm just waiting and seeing and still hovering my eyes on this map, that do we getting to see any sort of drop contestation onto the area of Lipovka. We have one team onto its own way. I8 is already onto the area of shelter. Some teams are into that drop location, drop contestation, but slowly and steadily the fights will be taking its own course as Trex is moving down towards the area of Novorupna. So I guess 1, 2, 3, 4 teams are already onto the military base island, and the circle is completely making way onto the western side. But right off the bat, I can guess to see it is Kayak from Ixcel Esports that has been eliminated in just 1 minute of the game.
Well, we do see a small little fight taking on place towards the side of northern side of towards Saverny itself, and that has resulted in, of course, that first blood being drawn onto our screens. Along with that, when you talk about the circle has thrown a curveball to these teams. I mean, the flight path was towards, of course, the eastern side, but on towards the other tangent, the circle has completely moved on towards the western side, and Gatka being the center is going to be forcing a lot of these teams to try and get into that region. The sooner the better, of course. But along with that, as Ankit was just mentioning, on towards the military island itself, we do have so many of these teams. As of now, of course, we can clearly see that Trex and the likes were looking pretty comfortable, but will that be enough for them when it comes down to that rotation? As of now, we move on into the fight, and it is going to be none other than Saga, who has been brought down to his knees. Sixth Sense not off to a decent start from the looks, but eventually that is just the gameplay being showcased in the first 2.5 minutes. As we were looking at it, it is the Saverny fight, and it is going to be Saga caught out in the open, sad state of affair, but Cosmonauts off to a wonderful start, as we were talking about it in the pre-game segment as well. I mean, yes, KTM Rage is the one that plays, well, the viewers are talking about, but Cosmonauts India is in the lobby as well, and they can be the ones who can very well retaliate in terms of that location, and that is exactly what is happening right here, where we do see Blancos from the side of Cosmonauts India take on the team, and it is going to be a very difficult start, sad state of affair for the side of course, Sense.
Exactly. But Cosmonaut, as we're getting to see, the players are just peppering and hounding down the bullets onto the players, and it is not looking good. It's the area of Saverny. We're getting to see the early contestation, and in these sort of maps, it is one team that is really trying to dominate. But on the other hand side, it is going to be Sixth Sense Saga that has finally faltered down. And this just early stage of the game, 4 players has been just sent to the lobby block. To just imagine the fierce competition that we are heading towards, that we are inching towards. It's Ayush that is also pinned down out in the open. He needs the revival, but I guess the revival is not going to be the case, because the players are already on the crosshair. Skarl with 6s, I guess 1 or 2 tap shots can do the business, but he still has that cover. The Dasha is still in front of him, but Tequila is trying to give him the cover fire from other side. But Ayush, whenever he gets out in the open, he will be finished things off, as Cosmonaut has just secured 1 kill with Swew trying to get 1 more into its own favor. Ayush will be taken care of as Suvu gets 1 kill in its own favor.
Well, what a start. What an exhilarating start. We were talking about rivalries, we were talking about contestations, and it seems like the question has been answered. It is going to be Cosmonauts India right here, right off the bat in the first 4.5 minutes itself, taking down 2 players, bringing in some really wonderful plays for themselves. But will that be enough? Because again, when it comes to the zone itself, it is 1,000 meters away from the side of Cosmonauts India. So they are going to have to get that loot segregated for themselves and quickly start working towards getting away from this position. Yes, the kill has been confirmed for them. Yes, they do know that there was another team right here and they have been the one who have come up on top, but will it be enough? After all, it is just the few early initial moments of the game. And on the other tangent, when we talk about the team of Tequila, well, GG play, I wish I could say, but again, I mean, in the first few minutes itself, there was no smoke that could be utilized from them because they were not able to get those utilities working in their favor. And of course, in that, the result has been that the team has lost 2 of their players. Ayush gone back into the lobby, Saga went back into the lobby, thus leaving only Tequila and Icolaris all by themselves. And 6th Sense, as we were mentioning, are going to have to play a bit of a passive approach. Of course, for now, we can clearly see that there's not a lot of loot that has been working for the team, but there is a 1,000-meter distance. That is what they are going to be trying to organize themselves towards. On the other tangent, it is going to be the side of Team ZeroDeath who are making that rotation and are going to be jumping into the arena with a beautiful turn of events because the team is looking like in control. They have the vehicles for themselves. They are going to be segregating themselves in individual vehicles, and that is going to be working in their favor. And an early rotation is what you do want when it comes to a zone like this, to be able to get inside the circle, to get into a compound that you can call your home and then try and retaliate against whatever other team that tries to make a rotation around your location or even contests you in towards that compound.
I mean, exactly. You just need to get all the guns and loot segregated in a bag, and then you can head towards the fight. But certainly it was not the case in the area of Severny. But apart from Severny, it seems that rest of the city is looking completely peaceful as we head into the area of Water City, where we get to see one team into the action, and that is going to be of Darksyde that are looting into its own compound. It's Jerky that is completely being taken over by one more team that is also looking pretty good at the moment, but some teams have already made a rotation. It is KTM that has completely come into the main island. I guess they have been completely fast on their footsteps, as we just talk about, because they have their vehicles in their own hand, and since they have made a rotation from Susnovoka military base to the main island, it is a good rotation, I guess, because you never know, some teams might go for the bridge camp situation, and since it's the very first game, teams actually don't know the exact position of their opponent, and in that case you really need to be on the safer side. But on the other hand, it is going to be not an easy task for 6th Sense, as we get to see on the northeastern side that orange marker where Eclairs and Tequila is still surviving from the sides of 6th Sense, and they are going to need to play the passive approach throughout the end of the game. But as we get to see, a lot of teams are trying to make an entry. Apart from some teams, most of the teams are into the zone, as we get to see slowly and steadily from the area of Lipovka. It is Para that will be leaving the city for sure, and Trex, as we will get to head towards see the last course of the match. I'll interested to see whether they take the Novorupnoy bridge or they would go for the military bridge. I guess the team that have played in the past in Novorupnoy bridge, they'd really like to take that Novorupnoy bridge as per se, but you never know what sort of strategy, what sort of gameplay the teams can actually come up with, because at the end of the day, you need not to be predictable at the end of the day.
Well, GG indeed for the side of CNT Esports, as they have a rockin' start for themselves. The loot absolutely working in their favor. No other team to contest them for that compound, and it is looking a perfect sort of an approach for themselves, as they find themselves pretty much in the zone comfort as well. First 8 minutes of the game itself, we have seen a few kills, but now as the zone is going to be moving on along, it is going to be pushing these teams to get into the circle, and as they do so, this is when the fights are to be expected from their side. Of course, right now we move on down towards PUBG Minion Esports, and this team is also looking pretty decent for now, as they have a really fanned out approach when it comes to the game itself. They are keeping an early eye out towards what other team are they going to be able to spot. We can clearly see on the minimap that all 4 players have their own individual vehicles, and that is going to be working in their favor. But now is when things are going to get tricky, as they get into the bridge. That is when you do know that bridge camps do end up taking place, and that is something that they are going gonna have to be really careful of. But of course, just few initial moments of the game, all the teams trying to get the spot onto their opponents. The first airdrop finally being dropped on, along with, of course, level 3 kit and the MK14. That is going to be a massive opportunity for a team to be able to utilize as they get their hands onto that gun.
Definitely a very good gun to actually have in your own bag and on your own teammates at any particular day. But for the moment, it is again the circle that we are getting to see a shift that I expected to see, because in these sort of circle you get to see a lot of Gatka and trenches coming into play. Also Query somewhere down the line. In all these situations, it is going to be again KTM, the team that really find themselves in a good position and controlling all those ridges onto that side that can really have a good control. But on the other hand side, it is again Sixth Sense that I will really have my eyes upon. They are going for the late rotation approach, and this is one good thing that they are doing, because once they try to make an entry from the eastern side, there are a lot of traffic and they really don't want to get eliminated this early, because at the end of the day, it is also the placement point that can help you. But on the other hand side, it is from the northern side, that is Team Ronak, that is coming in, and also it is going to be I8 and a lot of team that are slowly and steadily inching towards their way into the circle. But it is going to be the Treks that will be taking the Nova Rupna bridge. Yeah, they will be.
They most certainly are. It is a very late rotation that we can see from the side of Treks indeed, and they certainly took their time, and now it is going to be on the run. And as they get themselves on the run, it seems like they might just be able to get into the zone, but we shall come back to that, because right now, as of course Ankit was mentioning, keeping an eye out towards Sixth Sense. Tequila has lost his life and he is down to his knees. His teammate is so far out that there is no way or a possibility for him to be given a revival, so we can probably expect a play zone kill coming in for the side of Tequila, and Sixth Sense will be down to one-man army. But we'll see if that will be the case, or his teammate decides to actually go back to get that revival done. And on the other tangent, it is Illuminate who are now taking on a fight. They are trying to take a long-range fight right here, of course, against the players of 4 Godawari fighters. But 4 Godawari are going to be moving away, as we can clearly see in the minimap that they are in their vehicles, and from the looks of it, they're probably not interested in this early fight for now.
Definitely, the early fight is what they are averting for now, but for how long, that is going to be the answer. That is going to be the question that will be answered in a moment or so. But for the moment, it's Godawari that is on a move, and all 4 players are inching slowly and steadily towards where they are trying to do so. But for the moment, it is one team Illuminate crew that is completely in a split situation. God in that one compound, and Cobra is on that compound in that terrace. He's just trying to spot down the player. But on the backhand side, it is going to be one team that is trying to make a rotation, and we'll get to see if the fight is actually happening or not. But it is going to be Eliminate crew that is just sitting passively, not just sitting passively, but trying to gather more and more info as more and more team just converges towards them.
Well, for now, that is a slow start to the game indeed. I mean, in the initial two and a half minutes itself, we did see Sixth Sense not off to a good start, and that is when we saw some fights being taken on from the side of Cosmonauts India. But after that, it has taken a slow poke roll when it comes to this game. With that, the second airdrop being drawn with the AUG. A wonderful opportunity once again for the side of these teams. But will they be deciding to go on and take that? Of course, based on the map, we can see that Darksyde is very close to that location itself, and it might just be the case that they will probably decide to go on and take that loot. But we shall come back to that, because right now Trex is finally jumping in, and it seems like there is a fight. There is an open fight where indeed Paradox are the ones who are taking on the players of Rogue, and it is going to be an open arena where Hazard and Put are certainly going to be creating a flank angle, but it seems like Rogue for the moment are not interested. We see Hitman and Zeus just getting into their vehicles and trying to run away from that position. So once again, a passive approach from being showcased from the side of these teams in the lobby. As of now, they're not really interested in taking on those fights. They just want to be working towards getting the information for their opponents, and that is what we can see all the teams pretty much try and work towards.
Definitely, we can get to see Paradox, OCE, the complete team is in the vicinity where WC KTM is already there, but they are not looking to take the fight. But as soon as Godawari moves towards the other teams and are trying to make a rotation, it seems that some players have really got a large hit onto their backhand side, and they still survive onto that slither of an HP. It's not a slither of an HP. Zero is still having a lot of HP in its own way, but things could have really gone nasty. But as we get to see the first, I guess, vehicle burst comes into its own way as the players are going down slowly and steadily, and it's 4 Godawari fighters that are again out in the open, just trying to put down the rotation of some other teams into their own way, but Zero is completely close to one team, and that is not going to be a good thing. It's PUBG Minion that is very close towards two teams. Ixcel is having its crosshair set up on, and Assassin is really trying to slaughter down the player with the help of DP3X, and it is a very brilliant way to actually take the fight.
Well, on the other tangent, as we just saw in the kill feed, it was Illuminate who would bring in some players, knocks, and working towards that, of course, that burst of the vehicle, as you were talking about, Ankit. On the other tangent, we also did see Darksyde take on another player of NEPALZ. So the fights have finally started taking place 14 minutes into the game. The third circle is what we're looking at. And Ixcel right here, trying to keep it to the shorelines itself. So they know for a fact that when it comes to the shoreline, their backs are secure. There's no team that can bring in that sort of a third-party situation. But on the other tangent, PUBG Minions find themselves against the players of Cosmonauts India. And Cosmonauts India are looking absolutely destructive. This team, right off the bat, brought us the first blood. But eventually, as they move on along into the game, the saga is working in their favor. They've already got 3 kills confirmed for themselves. And this team is looking like a dominating force to be reckoned with.
Definitely, for the moment, it seems that yes, they are the destructive force, because it's 3 kill is what they are sitting at the moment. And Blanco's, the way he was just moving and marching into the house, he was still ready to take up the fight with all 3 men on the backhand side. It was an easy affair for him to eliminate one more player. But the fact of the matter is that we are heading towards the mid stage of the game, and it's still 16 teams alive in the lobby, and this is a good thing to start things off. And as we get to see, but I would have loved to see a lot of more ruckus, a lot of more chaos, a lot of bloodbath. As we head towards the circle, we get to see it is completely dominating on the western side of the circle, where it is gonna be Ixcel that is holding the shorelines area in all these circles. If they hold the compound for a long time, it can be a good situation for them. But as soon as the circle shifts away from KTM, I would love to see what sort of rotation they have for now. But it seems that from the northern side, there are a lot of compound. There is not a lot of compound, but still a space, a vacant space where the teams can actually have the rise upon. But KTM on the other hand side, they are taking up the fight in its own way, as they get secured with 1 kill. It is Kapil KS getting 1 kill, and they are now trying to smoke out the crates, and they will be moving slowly and steadily after looting and completing the looting into the circle. For now, it is a lot of team that is surviving with 3-man roster, and some teams intentionally or maybe unfortunately playing with 3-man roster. One, it is going to be WC KTM.
Well, KTM certainly in with a 3-man army, but looking like pretty much in control of the fights, and were able to get that kill for themselves. On the other tangent, for the 6th Sense side, it is going to be Eclairs who has been able to still keep his reign and is going to be moving into the zone itself. We saw him in the minimap making that rotation from the western side, but onto the other tangent, it is going to be the Paradox team, which is going to try and bring in an onslaught. Being on top of the hill situation, we can clearly see that they are trying to get as much information as they possibly can, and there are going to be other teams very close to them as well. And in that doing so, Erangel has been given a lot of knock and a lot of lead has been pumped into him, along with which, of course, it is going to be 4 Godawari fighters who have taken a fight for themselves and are looking very much in control. But Assassin right here from the side of Ixcel has got himself in a bit of a tricky affair, because he is in the middle of a fight and finds himself in a bit of a sandwich situation. On the other tangent, the kill feed just does not stop for the side of Cosmonauts India as they bring in another kill for themselves. So a GG play being showcased from the side of Cosmonauts India. But right here, when it comes to Ixcel, it is Assassin who is trying his level best to try and retain that position that he's in, but again being caught off guard from front as well as behind. The vehicle supporting him, but for how long? As soon as that vehicle, the buggy is damaged, it is going to be sent back to the lobby for Assassin eventually. Yeah. But that for now is not going to be the case. Oh my word, talk about Caster's curse. PUBG Minions taking down Assassin, and it is going to be game over for the lad.
Definitely a sad state of affairs, as you have been mentioning in the whole way in its own course. But straight out Fiji is still holding its own angle. 1 kill is what they have secured for the moment. It's the southwestern edge they are standing at the moment, and they are not looking to take up the fight. But it is going to be PUBG Minion that have eliminated one team, but is certainly not looking in a good position, as they now find themselves amid a lot of fight, where it is going to be a lot of team in its own way. And we get to see Paradox in a longer proximity if we just talk about that. But Cosmonaut India right off the bat, 4 kills, and this team is looking absolutely stunning with one team getting eliminated. We still are left with 15 teams, and just in the 17-15 seconds to go. But there we go, the knock has come, and it's for the first time on the head of Cosmonauts India, as Jin goes down, and it now comes down to how the players survive. But do they know that there is already a snaking action? We are not headed towards the map of Sanhok, but the snaking and slither reaction is already on its way. It's Glitch Wap that will be surviving the brunt of the grenade, but he will be taking care of, as he has been spotted down because the grenade was pretty much close to where he is actually proning down, but he needs to make sure that he takes the fight in his own way. He has been spotted down as Suwu is taking the fight, and it's just a moment where he will be taken care of as he's just now holding his nerves. And yep, there we go. Bison action comes in its own favor, and Glitch Vio has been sent to lobby.
With that, Cosmonauts India taking another kill. They were able to get Jin Revival as well. And behind them, of course, is going to be the team of Ixcel. So they were on the shorelines, but the circle has moved away from them. But never mind that, Cosmonauts India's argument just continues on as CNT are being brought down to the knees. Freaks has been brought down. It is going to be the conversation about his teammates now, where Lux and Vex are going to try their level best to bring in a little bit of damage towards the players of Cosmonauts India. But Cosmonauts India, they are just relentless in terms of the play that they are showcasing right here. Nade Parade is being showcased from them from one team to the other. They were able to bring down ZeroDeath's player, and now they move on to take on another player. But CNT, as we had seen earlier, Jin was brought down from the side of Cosmonauts. It was none other than CNT's team that was able to ferociously take that fight. But will this fight be turning into Cosmonauts India's favor? Because it is an open argument for the moment. It is going to be, of course, Lux, who is going to be taking a perfect approach to the fight. Jin once again being brought down to the knees, and it is going to be CNT who are looking very much argumentative in this entire conversation. The smoke working in their favor on the other tangent. Talk about a Rogue Nation being brought on from the side of Cosmonauts India, because they do not have any utilities in terms of smoke, but they are just taking a blank range fight, and this has turned into them getting slowly and steadily one after the other knocked, because CNT is taking a very good approach to this entire saga. In doing so, of course, CNT have also brought down two of their players. Lux and Vex are down, and now it is going to be up to Beast OP from the side of Cosmonauts, who will just completely relentlessly push on along and will get the third player down as well, just leaving one player remaining for the side of CNT Freaks. And Freaks is man who for the moment is been able to absolutely convert the fight, but he'll not be able to get the kill altogether, because after all, he was just a one-man army going against the players of Cosmonauts India, and in doing so have lost their life.
Definitely CNT Esports sent back to the lobby, but it is us that will be heading towards one more fight that is holding onto the northeastern side, where Darksyde is taking the fight with I8, and this is not looking good for them as two players are already down. But Illuminate Crew, they are looking pretty much strong at the moment, as they are now trying to pounce upon the players of one team, and that is not looking good. As God goes down, it is all upon Darksyde's last brother that is still surviving, and everything resides on his shoulder. Everything is on his shoulder. Will he be able to take down the player that is trying to push him down? We'll have to still wait for that, as I8's player are still alive, but before going down, he makes sure that he will be taking at least 2 kills from the whole lobby, as he gets more and more shots from multiple directions. He needs to get all the smokes done at the right point, else it will be a game end, as Probal will be taken down thanks to that on grenade coming in. With I8 eliminating them, they will be making a move into the circle. 5 kill is what they are standing for the moment, with leaving God and Says Hang. It is also not looking good for them, as Team Ronak have now spotted on the I8 players, and they will be taking the fights on it in its very close proximity, as 4 have come into the fight as Paradox Wiz goes down.
Well, what a play this has turned out to be for the side of Team Ronak. They are looking in perfect contestation for this entire area as we move on towards the 5th zone. 22 minutes pretty much into the game, and this has brought us down to 10 teams remaining. Team Ronak still have all 4 players alive. Talk about domination. It was Illuminate who were bringing in a lot of kills for themselves and were able to, of course, attain 5 kills for themselves, but have lost one of their players along with this conversation. NEPALZ being sent back into the lobby as well. So we are now down to 9 teams remaining. Paradox looking pretty comfortable, but right behind them is, of course, going to be Rogue, and in the tangent is going to be Trex. But one thing working for Paradox is going to be a king of the hill situation, and that advantage onto that altitude will give them the information. And of course, if they decide to bring that onslaught towards these teams, even if it's behind them or besides them, Trex or Ronak respectively, they are the ones who should be able to absolutely decimate. But for the moment, Paradox are not really interested in that, as they take on the fight to the players of PUBG Minions, and PUBG Minions are being brought on down from one after the other. It is going to be a perfect play and perfect nade being showcased from the side of Paradox, but PUBG Minions are onto a different tangent as well, because they are taking a fight. We can clearly see right here, Oho is the one who is trying to take on an onslaught to himself, and Paradox once again comes into the action and are definitely going to be taking a lot of fights for themselves. This is not looking good for Oho, as he's the one-man army remaining, but that does not mean that he is done with the fight. He is still going to be pushing on along, even though he's just a one-man squad.
He's showing the heart for for sure. He's trying to lob down grenade onto the other players, but it is also going to be Trex Adi that is trying to lob down grenades onto the player of Rogue, and at any point, at any moment, it can be a grave situation as Rogue Nation, they are looking pretty much strong at the moment as WCKTM are trying to push at a place where they don't have any sort of idea where the players have actually positioned, and within a blink of an eye, Hitman getting that 2 kill has completely wiped out one squad. 3 kill is where I8 players are standing at the moment, and with this, it was game end for KTM, but at this moment, it is gonna be Rogue that will be third party in the situation where T-Rex spotting at the right moment, realizing the fact that it was one team that was in this fight for a long time, and since they have sensed the situation, they are pinning them. They are really pinning them as we head towards the 23 minutes of the map, and a lot of ruckus has been created as Rogue Hitman gets one more knock, and it's T-Rex Ali that goes on it. That means Hitman is really hitting them hard.
Well, GG indeed being showcased from the side of this team, but again, Paradox working for them is going to be the altitude, but of course also with that they've given the information to so many of these teams. We do see of course 4 Godawari fighters now bringing in those nade parades, and Erangel has been brought down to his knees where he's going to be trying to get a revival from his teammate, but will it be enough? Talk about Paradox's approach. They are fanned out with so many individual fights that they are trying to take all by themselves, and in doing so they've kind of thinned out the line and of course the opportunity that they possess being the king of the hill, but eventually with the smokes dissipating, it is going to be a perfect third party situation against the side of Paradox. But on the other tangent, it is going to be Trex who were definitely trying, but eventually have been spotted out in the open and have been knocked thanks to, of course, to high right there. We clearly saw that that was not the kind of play that was anticipated from Trex because they were in the position to bring down Paradox, but eventually they themselves have been brought down to just a one-man squad, and that's going to be Brown Boy for the moment.
Exactly, and obviously, yep, the hope was pretty much thin. It was pretty much bleak, and he goes down as now Paradox survives the brand from other team at it. It's not going to be an easy task as Team Ronak now all of a sudden have started getting more and more kills, but 3 kills. Rogue Hitman is what he's standing at the moment, but Rogue Nation's players are just not stopping. 4 kills is what the teams is also at the moment. Grenadier is what he is at the moment as he wipes out one more squad, and it is also going to be 3 kills with which PUBG Minions player are standing at the moment, and we are down towards just the 4 teams, and all of a sudden the mid-game stage, the last 2 minutes has been a bloodbath. Won't you agree, brother?
Most certainly has been. 4 teams remaining, PUBG Minion being sent back into the lobby as well, and in this doing so, we do see clearly that Rogue Nation have all 4 members alive. Same can of course be said for Team Ronak, and that is a conversation that could very well be in their favor, but eventually will illuminate and 4 Godawari fighters allow that fight to work into this moment. Talking about the placement itself, it is Illuminate who are slowly and steadily trying to get into the zone itself, and the zone is most certainly going to be shifting away from them, and Rogue Nation now find themselves on top of that hill, and in doing so, they have given away a lot of that information, and they are in the onslaught where indeed Cobra, Illuminate Cobra is absolutely death man for this game, and he has been making out quite a lot of fights from nades to of course those sprays. He has been taking down those players and kills for themselves. Eventually, as we move on along, 4 Rogue Nation are sent back into the lobby with just 3 teams surviving. This is a complete onslaught being brought on from the side of Team Ronak, where it is looking like they are in control of this contestation. 4-man squad is what this team is as they bring those leads and those bullets towards a barrage against the players of Illuminate, where one by one the players have been brought down and just one final player remaining. And of course, we can clearly see that Ecolic has absolutely confirmed that perfect nation in his favor, but it was a third party where the kill was stolen from him, and 4 Godawari fighters take that kill away from that dude. But Sabine, look at that. I mean, Sabine sitting with 5 kills to himself. So for the moment, it is just 4 Godawari fighters against the 4 players of Team Ronak. For Team Ronak, they do need to get themselves fanned out to get a bit more of a flank angle working in their favor. We can see that Easy was bringing in that nade, and it is going to be very much on point on Salty, and Salty has, yes, been confirmed with 50% damage to his health.
Definitely, his position has been actually revealed, and just because of that, we get to see 2 more grenades lobbing onto his body, and third one takes him down as Easy brings the knock, and it all comes down to the 4v2 situation where Sabine, GG, and Zero are still surviving, and it is looking bleak as Ecoholic pushes from the left hand side, and that haystack is being held by Summer as slowly and steadily Ecoholic is moving and inching towards a player of 4 Godawari fighters, where 2 players just surviving, whereas Salty is still having that hope where he gets the revival, but Ecoholic is still lobbing the grenade onto different direction. From right hand side, some players are pushing, but slowly and steadily 2 players are pretty much close to where the 4 Godawari players are already there. It's just the Zero that is going to be the active player, because it's Sabina that is giving the revival. In all these situations, it seems that zone has completely gone away from the 4 Godawari fighters, and it is going to be Team Ronak that will be getting the favor of not only zone but also have the numbers advantage. AK Holik, Summer can take 4 Godawari fighter at any moment down, and it is not looking easy. They are pretty much strong. They are pretty much close, I would say, and it seems that now they should need to hear. They need to hear the sound cue. They need to hear the sound cue. There we go. AK Holics, one more knock. That means Salty hasn't really been given the rival. Sabina, once he will take it, it will be a game end for them, as we still are down to one last player. And Summer, realizing the situation that he is going for his own way, he will be taking the fight, but Summer goes down, and finally it is gonna be Team Ronak with the first chicken of this wildcard getting his own favor and own way. And what a game for them. High fragging game towards the last part of the game, but the damage is one thing that we need to talk about. 22 total points right off the bat. This is looking startling performance for them. What a performance, what a start for Team Ronak.
Well, absolutely perfect play is what it was showcased from the side of Team Ronak. I mean, resilient, being patient, and that is what resulted in this team walking away with that chicken dinner with, of course, as you mentioned, 7 kills, 1,432 damage, and 22 points is what this team has. So, a perfect play being showcased. But again, I mean, you talk about this game. I mean, this was the play that was supposed to be made from these teams in the lobby, and they did so. I mean, you talk about those first blood situations, right? It was, I mean, yes, exactly. And the way that Cosmonauts India started that journey off, it was looking absolutely dominating and aggressively, working in their favor as well. But that's not the only team, right?
Taking one thing into the fact, they took the fight in area of Suvarni and then went towards the western side of that Gatka and Query area, where they also took the fight. So not only it was the Suvarni where tried to dominate, it's the western coast where they dominated for the most of the time. And I guess it was the 5th or the 6th team at the last circle where they got eliminated, but the way they fight out the match, that was looking pretty much phenomenal. And also Team Ronak that just got the chicken dinner. It was a moment for them that they could have taken the fight, but they just averted them, and just because of that, it was the 4 player that found themselves into this last circle.
Most certainly. With that, let's move on and have a look at the most valuable player, the MVP of this game, and that will be going on down towards none other than Team Ronix, Alcoholic, and this dude got 6 kills. Talk about kill hungry team and kill hungry player. This dude by himself got 6 kills, 852 damage that he was able to dish out with 0 healing done. So again, I mean, a passive approach, not necessarily, but definitely a stealthy approach being showcased from this player. And this is the first game itself where the team has done wonders for themselves, walking away with the chicken dinner and the 22 points in total. It is most certainly going to be a good start for this team, but as we move on along, we shall have to keep an eye out towards, of course, what the other players did. What were the moments that definitely defined their entire saga itself, because, well, we are talking about the top players itself.
Exactly, we'll get to see the top players of this match, and it is going to be obviously AK Holik from Team Ronak on the first position, but then it is going to be Eliminate Crew Cobra OP that we saw that tried to decimate the opponent when they were trying to make an entry into zone with that AKM spray. It was a prone down spray, and it was not an easy task for him because he was also in the open, but the way he took the fight, it was an all easy for them. He just made it look so easy. And then it was Paradox Hazard with 5 kills, 1-4-1-3 damage, and then it was also 4 Godawari fighters. Sabine GG, the last player standing for his team, he also fought the fight his heart out. And then also it was Zeems Gaming from the same team with 2 kills, 570 damage. So a lot of different players coming in and chiming into these top players, and it's really good to see. But surely it was also a game that 4 Godawari was looking for, and this is sort of start if you get to have in your favor, the momentum shifts in your way.
Absolutely does. With that, let's have a look at the match summary coming in, the stats being showcased from the first game itself, where we do have Alcoholic working in with the highest kill working for himself. On the other tangent, Cosmonauts India, Suwu coming in with the longest distance, 255 meters kill is what he was able to confirm for himself. Along with that, Alcoholic once again chimes in along with the highest damage being doshed out. On to the other tangent, most utilities are from Zeus from Rogue Nation, and to complete the list, it is going to be Illuminate's Cobra OP with maximum assists. So we did see Cobra actually take on quite a lot of fights, and again it was his worst damage as well as the nade parade that he was showcasing that resulted in him getting well those assists. But of course, a perfect first game from this wildcard. With that, let's move on to the match rank, and we do know who got the chicken dinner, but how did the other teams fare?
Definitely, and there we get to see Team Ronak 7 kills, 15 total points. We have already known that it's 22 total points, but Eliminate Crew also making that lead close with a total of 19 points. A lot of teams standing on that 19, 13th and 12th. So 5 teams right off the bat, they have got their numbers in double digits, and then it was still not a drop because 9 point against 12, it's still pretty much not significant. As we just talked about that, Cosmonauts India, 8 kills, 0 placement points. The team has surely shown the mettle, the prowess, the gunpowder they have. This is certainly going to be the one team that I'll have my eyes upon.
Most certainly, because again, I mean, they worked not towards the placement points, but just towards the kills, and that is what has resulted them being on the 7th position. Had they worked towards the placement point itself as well and not taken those open fights like that, just guns blazing. But again, I mean, nothing separating them because the conversation was working in their favor from one fight to the next as they moved on along. They were able to dish a lot of damage into the lobby. And as we move on to the second page, it is Darksyde right here on the 9th spot, followed by KTM with just 1 kill for themselves. And eventually, as we move on down the line, it was Trex with 0 kills, 2 placement points. And again, this is where things did not work out for the side of Team ZeroDeath, as they were not able to get placement points, they were not able to get any kills, and thus a sad start for the side of this team. But eventually, again, I mean, it is good to see that all the teams are bringing in some points for themselves. On the first page also, we did see that the teams were very close in terms of the points that they were able to accumulate in just the first game. So the competition is going to be there, and of course the rivalries are going to be created, and that is where we can clearly expect that there will be a lot of changes on that first page itself because of the points being so very close to each other.
Definitely, there is no two-ways doubt about that, but this was certainly not the start that Team ZeroDeath was looking at. It's a ZeroDeath team that was trying to pounce death upon and bring the death upon other team, but this time it was this team that fell short with no point securing. And we get to see the 9th team that just got 3 points just because a lot of points was secured in the first half of the chart. We got to see points being shared 22, 19, 19, 13, 12, a lot of points, a lot of team getting into second digit number. So not much of was left for the teams from the 9 to 16. But I guess when they come in the second game, that is going to be the Miramar. That will be the one thing that they are still not aware of. They might get to see one more drop contestation as we got to see in the area of Severny. But still, it was Ixcel that survived the brunt and got at least 1 point from this first game of Erangel. I'm completely impressed. But the way teams like Cosmonauts and Rogue Nation have started things off, this is they just exploded, I would say.
Right, that is what was expected. That is exactly what is expected when it comes to the wildcard itself, and the teams are so very destructive, right? And that is what the viewers are here for as well, to be able to see these sort of fights, and fights that are actually being taken from all across the board, and it's not just one team dominating, it is all working together, and that is where the lobby just completely shines and outshines themselves. But with that first game done, we are going to go on a short little break, after which we'll jump in with game number 2.
Here we go now.
All right, we are back again with, of course, the PUBG Mobile Club Open. This has been a wonderful, sensational turn of events. Just first game done, but what a perfect start it is to the entire lobby, where Group A and B are, of course, dominating against each other. But that is not the case itself, because after all, when we will be introduced with Group C and D, that is when that much more of an excitement will be showcased. But right now, let's jump directly into the arena itself and jump with the second game and the flight path on our screens, where Cosmonauts India, the last game that we saw, that this was the team that was absolutely synergistic and brilliant in terms of the fights that they ended up taking, resulted in them walking away with 8 kills. This time around, we shall have to see if that was the play that they are going to be showcasing once again, or will there be a different change of story form from their side.
Definitely, we have still wait for that as the second game take its own course. And from the area of Toro Mother downtown to his area of Chumasira and Minnas to Lossley he goes. So a lot of team to have seen in the past, they'd love to go towards the area of Loss he goes, if we just talk about that. And since this flight path is completely dissecting the whole of the map in 50-50 equal halves, there is a lot of opportunity for the teams to go down towards. But some cities like Puerto Palacio, it seems that it's unglidable. Even if you take the vehicles, it's still not a safe side to go towards the same area. We have seen in the past that KTM loves to go towards the area of Lost Heroes. That means they will be having a clear shot onto that same city, onto the same areas where they can completely play in a split situation down to the area of Minas Dilsul. But for the moment, it is going to be other team that are slowly and steadily making a move onto their side, where we get to see NEPALZ getting a close headway onto the area of La Cobreria along with TSG, and this is looking good at this moment, as I still don't see any sort of drop contestation if we just talk about that, as straight out of Fiji is also going down towards the area where on the western side of Hacienda del Patron, and it seems that maybe on the area of Minas or on the northern side we can expect some fights between them, Trex and some other team. But what is this blotter? Are we heading towards a bloodbath? This circle, the last circle also, it was completely western dominated flight path, but it seems that the circle and the PUBG god is now finding themselves in the water areas at the moment. As we head towards, it is gonna be Ixcel up against Paradox.
Well, this is not looking good, because Godawari are going to be the ones who will be trying to contest this location, and it is going to be a really interesting fight to be seeing, because after all, it is looking like both the teams do know that they have, of course, jumped into this area and have apparently been able to get a decent amount of loot for themselves as well as they move on along. Now the conversation is which team will be the one that will strike first. When it comes to the placement itself, it is looking like Godawari players are the ones who were able to get a little bit of a knock, and it was none other than Ixcel right here who were the ones to bring in that train. As we can clearly see, all 4 players have their full health, but on the other tangent, onto the receiving front, it was Godawari who have lost a little bit of their health, but not a lot. But now the conversation might just change as they get themselves acclimated into this area itself. It is going to be based on what team will be wanting to take that fight, but they better be quick, because we've seen that happen earlier as well, that if they end up taking too long and become part of that stalemate conversation in the initial few moments of the game itself, we can clearly see that the zone is 2,400, almost 2,500 meters away from these two teams. So if the stalemate keeps on moving on forth till the 7th minute marker, 8th minute marker, then the rotation becomes that much more trickier. But for the moment, of course, that is a long ways ahead. For now, the teams are just focused on trying to get that information working for themselves. And talking about the information itself, it is certainly looking like Godawari onto the minimap, we can clearly see, have gotten themselves onto a flank angle to the entire city, and this is something that can work absolutely in their favor. That is only if they're able to accumulate enough conversation and, of course, information for themselves against the players of Ixcel.
Exactly. For the moment, it is going to be 2,500 meters for the complete squad of Godawari. Will they take the fight or not? That is going to be the case, but it seems that it will be a wise decision if they right now fall back, as in the last game, it was the team that came second, and 19 point is with they started the journey of PMCO, and I guess they must be looking to get more and more points as we head towards the fight. It is going to be for Godawari that is on the flank angle, as you perfectly mentioned. They are on that cliff, they are holding the compounds, and they can actually spot down the entire squad of Ixcel, as Nilol and Para's player are actually into that same compound, just trying to hide themselves into the way. But it seems that Salty have received some of the damage in the early stage game. The HP is still pretty much close towards the 80 mark, and it seems that he doesn't have any sort of neither bandage or nor the first aid that we talk about the situation. But it is still in a stalemate as we talk about that. 4 minutes 18 seconds. The fight is still yet to erupt.
Well, That is what does end up happening when it comes down to contestations of certain areas. It is, well, the teams, of course, they do want to be able to take those points and kills, but they end up becoming part of that stalemate conversation, and that results in team walking away with a lot of damage. But this is not looking good, because after all, it is Godawari who we've talking about creating that flank angle, but it is none other than Salty who has been brought on down to his knees, and their teammates are so far away based on that flank angle that there will be really difficult to get that revival. And right off the bat, it seems like Godawari are not having the best time of their lives, as the game has resulted in them losing one player in the first 5 minutes of the fight itself, and it is none other than Paracho who has been able to get that first blood into this game. And moving on along, it is going to be Ixcel who start off this domination. Now it is going to be a conversation about for Godawari as to what are they expecting from this fight, or what are they going to be doing to resiliate this the skill that was, of course, brought on to them from the side of Ixcel. For now, Ixcel, of course, were able to get that one kill confirmed, but will that be enough for them? Will that be enough for them to satisfy their needs, and then try and will they be trying to get into the zone itself, or will they stick around to take on a lot more of an onslaught? Talking about the zone itself, we can see that Rogues players are out there along with, of course, Illuminate. So these are the two teams who find themselves pretty much in the center of the zone and looking pretty comfortable. Alongside that, it is going to be none other than the team of course, Alcoholic right here, where we can see that this is a team of Ronak who were absolutely dominating the previous one. Now they have a chance, as they make that rotation, to get into a third-party situation against the players of Godawari and Ixcel itself. But will that be happening? For now, again, contestations as of now are not really, a lot of teams are pretty comfortable in terms of the area that they've been able to accumulate for themselves. But as we move on down towards the Los Nearest Impala region, we can clearly see that straight out of Fiji as well as Six Sense are in close proximity. So talk about contestations, that could be a place where they might just get into another fight that we can see.
Probably we can get to see, but it seems that they're still pretty much far apart. But from the north, if you get to see, it's Team Ronak, Alcoholic, and then south, it is not even visible in the map, where we get to see KTM Rage into the frame. So a lot of fan outward approach in the early stage of the game, and these sort of circles eventually throws a lot of curveballs, a lot of impediments for the rotations. But for the moment, it is going to be Para team is still in the area of San Martin, and we get to see C and T from the left hand side of the map. They are slowly and slowly making an entry into the circle straight out of Fiji. As we just talking about, is perfectly mentioned that they might find themselves in a skirmish between them and the Sixth Sense, but it seems that now slowly and slowly the players will be passing away, as Sicario tried to spot down the player with his AK and the red dot at the moment, but he will be letting things go away. And in these early stages of the game, you need to prioritize of the circles, and of the fact that the circle is also one thing that plays a part, and eventually the terrain that you need to pass over. But for the moment, it is the 7-minute and the 20-minute mark on the circle, and we are still with 16 teams and just the 2 players being eliminated. But saying that, it is going to be Team ZeroDeath. Smoking just survived. The moment he vaulted into the building, it was just enough for him to still survive, but he's pretty much close where KTM Lunatic is there, and all these fights are happening surprisingly on the very southern island of military base, where the teams are expecting the circle to be at. With this, we get to see an instant push with 3 players making a move on to the players of Smokin, and it is not looking good. Team ZeroDeath completely on a back foot situation.
Well, ZeroDeath not looking pretty good, as you were perfectly mentioned. It is going to be Smokin who has been very well smoked in towards this area, and it is going to be KTM Rage who are the ones who bring in that onslaught. But will it be enough? Of course, the synergy is working in KTM Rage's favor, but one thing to keep in mind is going to be ZeroDeath's players have created a wonderful flank angle. There is, of course, Smokin, who is the one who's on towards the onslaught to the team of KTM Rage, but eventually he has his teammate right around the corner to give him that cover fire as well. And now the conversation is going to be, will that be enough to bring in a conversation against the players of KTM Rage? And that is exactly what has happened, where indeed the teammate of ZeroDeath, Smokin, have been able to retaliate the push coming in from the side of KTM, and Lunatic has been brought down to his knees. Of course, he does have Couple right next to him, who will be able to get that revival for the moment, but eventually it is going to be Kale and Sujan conversation as to what are they going to be doing to bring against this onslaught. As we clearly see, it is going to be Puerte who is perfectly bringing on that onslaught to the players of KTM Rage, and the destruction that KTM Rage were expecting has not worked out in their favor. With that, it is KTM Rage looking not good, because they have once again gotten another player knocked, and that's going to be none other than Couple. And now Lunatic has a lot of trouble for himself, as he's going to be burnt alive and brought down to his knees, thus resulting in just 2 players remaining for the side of KTM. And come on, this is Potai, who is absolutely in a destructive mode. One nade after the other, one Molotov as well doing the job, has been able to confirm that kill for himself. But again, Kale and Sujan, they are absolutely in no conversation to be able to retaliate against this onslaught from the side of ZeroDeath.
Definitely, and with Blood joining ZeroDeath from the backhand side, he was in a motion, and for the moment he has come in, and it means Smokin will be saved. With this, play zone takes one more knock onto the player of Ixcel as one player also goes down, but all these fights are happening into the southern side of circle with Sujan spotting down Pot Eye. He has also received a lot of damage onto its head. With this being said, we are heading towards a fight that is erupting where both the teams have got a lot of detrimental damage onto their side, but one thing that ZeroDeath is made capable of and is successful about is that all the four players are again standing on their feet, with Glitchwayo taking Scar in its own hand and trying to bring down the player. Sujan brinkley survives on that slither of an HP, just tried to dodge out the blades that was coming in from the sides of Glitchwayo, still surviving, but for how long that is going to be the question, as Team ZeroDeath has completely pinned down the player, as the players from the sides of KTM don't have any sort of rich advantage. All this they can do is to fall back from the situation, but how would they do so? That is going to be the question, and that question, it seems that is going to be answered with a lot of brute force as Kali goes down, Play Zone takes down PUBG Minions Maga group, and some players have already losing their health on this blues, and you need to pay respect to all these circles, all these things, but Potai at the moment is reigning supreme at this moment, as he is now trying to take down the fight in its own hand, its own way. With Kale going down, it is going to be Glitchwayo that will be taking care for sure, but Kapel goes down, and this brings down to the last player surviving from the sides of KTM Ridge, and is completely far away from all the players, and Kapel will be bleeding his life off, and this is a fight that KTM was just not looking, not certainly the start that they have gone off to. In the last game also, it was a moment where they tried to make a push onto the players of Rogue Nation. They were being eliminated, and this time it was also a push, and that has been shut down. So push is something that is not working in their own hand.
Well, KTM Rage, that is not the kind of play that they wanted to make, and it is now left with just Sujan from the side of KTM Rage. A one-man squad is what he finds himself with, and he is going to have to try and work towards, of course, the placement points a lot more. On the other tangent, in the kill feed, we did just see Paradox take in an onslaught against the players of Darksyde as well. So again, when it comes down to Miramar, we mostly expect the fights to start taking on from the 12-minute marker, and that's exactly what is taking place for now. And on the other tangent, as I was just mentioning, Paradox are not yet done, as they have another team in their crosses. That's going to be none other than NEPALZ. As we clearly see, Para has a lot of information. He has been able to get a lot of knocks onto the players of NEPALZ as well, and his team is absolutely set up in a perfect crosshair position to be able to take the onslaught to the face of NEPALZ itself. But will NEPALZ be able to retaliate? We shall have to see. As of now, they've got the compound working in their favor, but will it be enough to convert a fight against the players of Para as well? On the other tangent, we also do see that Darksyde's players are in the vicinity as well. So Paradox certainly reigning supreme, but sadly were not able to confirm a kill.
Definitely, since the circle has gone for the southern shift, the players are still wanting and are preempting the circle might go towards the same area, and just because of that, Paradox are on a roll with two players in the same place and two players in different. Those 2-2 split is something what Paradox is playing for now, but saying that it is going to be Team Ronak, obviously. So Ronak, one player was lost in that blue, but since he has been revived down, it's again four players are still surviving and making a rotation from the northeastern side. It's not going to be an easy task because they will be up against one team, and that is going to be obviously four Godawari fighters. But for the moment, it is Ixcel that is looking pretty strong at the moment. We're just trying to pepper down some of the bullets, not letting any player come in the same vicinity, and going for the rotation is something what they have tried to pounce upon. But for the moment, it is going to be four Godawari that will be also in the fight, and this minibus is certainly not the perfect way, but AK Holik will fall from that bus.
He certainly will fall, and that might not be the start that, of course, Team Ronak wanted. Last time along, they were looking absolutely destructive, absolutely in conversation. It was theirs for the fight and every single way, but this time around, this has gone away from them, and it is none other than four Godawari fighters who have given that answer to that team, and again, are going to be able to walk out of that situation. Of course, the kill was not confirmed for the side of four Godawari players, but a lot of damage has been created for the side of Team Ronak. On to the other tangent, we move on towards, of course, the second airdrop being dropped on along with the third, along with level 3 kit, and of course the MK14 is going to be reigning supreme, whoever gets their hands on it. But right now, finally, there are a lot more fights taken on, and ZeroDeath is the one who is absolutely chiming in along and taking this onslaught to the players of Illuminate indeed, and in doing so has given away his position as well. And this is something that, again, he is all by himself for the moment. His teammates are going to be approaching this entire compound and the warehouse, but how exactly is ZeroDeath going to be taken on this fight? We did just see that they were able to reign supreme against the players of that team, but eventually will it be the same case that they left KTM Rage with one-man squad? But now, as they take on the players of Illuminate, will Illuminate be the one who will try and take on this team, or will ZeroDeath be able to capitalize on the situation? Of course, there is a lot of expectations from the side of ZeroDeath as well, because the team does play absolutely to perfection. But Illuminate, once they have the information, they do not back down from a fight, as well as what we've seen. So it is going to be quite a tricky affair for both the sides to be able to take on this fight. And since there is so much of cover area that has been supported for both of these teams, the fight is not going to be an easy thing.
Definitely, and since they're completely in a far-fetched approach, it is going to be a tough task if ZeroDeath want to make a push. It is still preempted, it's still pretty much possible, but they really need to strategize. With all they just kind of do is create that flank angle, go for that engulfing approach, but the big compound in which Illuminate crew are completely finding themselves into, it is not going to be these tasks. With all 4 press equipped with a lot of ammunition and those bullets in their own hands, they will be taking fight. They will be retaliating as we move on down towards where Ixcel are currently positioned. They are holding the eastern part of the circle, where they're taking the fight against Sixth Sense, where Sixth Sense players have already pulled them down, with Para going down. Obviously, he was surviving on the 20 HP, used that first hit, but now he is moving in that open Mirado. He was in that open situation, in that vulnerable position for a moment, but as soon as he moved away, it is going to be the compound, the walls that will be acting as a barrier between him and Sixth Sense, and he won't be getting any shots at the moment. As we got to see, more and more teams are coming into the same vicinity, but they are also constantly taking the fight, and it is just the 15 minutes. We are still yet to see how the fights actually erupt, because apart from those early knocks, those early finish where KTM's player were pulled down, the last player still surviving, it is all truce, it is all peaceful. And this has been in the last game also, if we try to closely observe it, it's the team that are still available in the closer proximity. They know where the teams are positioned, but they just don't break the fight out.
Well, for now, of course, that has been the conversation for these teams as they try and take on this fight slowly and steadily. I mean, most of the teams are trying to just get the information first, and then they're going to try and push on along. But right here, it seems like Fort Godawari might be in a position to be able to bring down the players of Ixcel indeed, because Ixcel are all clustered together, and that one nade from the side of Zero could be the annihilation that, of course, Ixcel will not be expecting. But for now, Zero has resulted in not wanting to take on that nade and will try and bring in a Scar L approach into the fight. Was not able to get a knock on towards any of the players. On the other tangent, it is, of course, the team of Darksyde that are also taken on the fight. So it has turned into quite a lot of an urban area that we find these teams in, and this is where things get really, really tricky to take on a fight, because there's just so much cover, so many flank angles, that it's not going to be a conversation that they could very well try and result into as their favor.
Exactly, domination mode is where Bot's Eye stands at the moment from the sides of ZeroDeath. With this 3 kill, he's also looking pretty strong at the moment, and since the fight is also erupting, it is going to be Team Ronak that just got eliminated, and they become the first team to get eliminated. But at the moment, it is going to be a lot of clustered up, and we get to see in the minimap on the eastern side, it is going to be ZeroDeath that won't have an actual good pursuit if we just talk about that, and the journey is still long. If we see them when they try to make an entry into zone on the other hand side, it is going to be from the southern side, where Illuminate crew will also be taking a fight against PUBG Minion, but for the moment it is Ixcel that are also leading supreme at the moment. And talking about that PUBG Minion, they have now started pinning down the players of Illuminate Pro, and Too High is down.
Well, ZeroDeath right around the vicinity as well, as Ixcel have lost one of their players. The revival was not able to be confirmed, and this has turned into a conversation that is not resulting in Ixcel's part, because once they were part of a fight against other player, and now they have, of course, ZeroDeath right next to them, and ZeroDeath have the troubles of their own, where one of their players has already been knocked down. But of course, the revival for the moment will be confirmed for themselves. Ixcel, on the other tangent, they are not looking too good, because when it comes down to the play itself, it is resulting in going against them. But ZeroDeath are deciding to not take on a fight for the moment. They're going to try and get away from the situation, and in doing so, give Ixcel an advantage in the position. On the other tangent, we did just see that the players of, well, a team that was looking so very good in the previous round, it is going to be Cosmonaut when it came down to the aggression, are the ones who are at the receiving end in terms of the kill feed. But the fight that is on our screens, for now, it could go in either ways, because we can clearly see ZeroDeath are not interested in the fight, but Ixcel most certainly are, and this has resulted in ZeroDeath losing Captain Blood again, being sent back in lobby this time around, and it is Bot Eye who will have to now retaliate against this. But Ixcel are so much in control. Kill feed going absolutely berserk right here, where we can clearly see that CNT's players as well as Cosmonaut India are taking on players for themselves, but PUBG Minions have a fight of their own, and there is just so much of ruckus being created in this lobby for now, and it is going to be none other than player of Illuminate Cobra right here being fallen on down. And of course, thanks to PUBG Minions approach, they all moved on along in a synergistic play, all four together, and there was absolutely no way Illuminate's Cobra could have retaliated against this push.
Exactly, falls 3-1-1, taking the final knock in its own course, and with that, Illuminate Group is sent to the lobby, but it is also not looking easy for Sixth as he was trying to take the fight, destroying his little offended HP, but he has been also surviving for a long time for the moment. 1 kill is what the team is standing at the moment, and they are in the out of the circle where 304 meters is what they need to travel, and it's still the 5th zone, 20 meters, and we are still heading towards a lot of compounds where the circle is actually constricting again and again, with Sixth Sense moving forward inch by inch. It is also not going to be an easy task, as once they move to make an entry, it is going to be Rogue onto the left hand side and some more teams onto the right hand side, but Location is also taking its own fight where both Godawari fighter goes down, and the car burst will be dealing a lot of damage onto its own course and will be solving the course as he tried to secure 1 kill where the 3 players just entering into the lobby. It is going to be a cautious approach, I would say, from sides of Rogue Nation if they need to get close toward the chicken, as they were also not able to in the last match. But saying that, it is going to be PUBG Minion now taking the fight with Paradox. Wiz going down. It is certainly the moment where they need to hold strong. But Assassin from the backhand side tried to bring down the players of Rogue Nation, but they were just lucky enough to escape. But Hitman again on a roll. He is running out in the Mirado, but the way he's trying to do so, it's not going to be good. But to PUBG Minion, Maga Group, he is also looking pretty decent at the moment, but just taking all the brilliant fight. He's deploying some of the smokes and getting a cover from backhand side from all of the players. He might be looking to take the fight with 6 kills already onto the name. He will be surviving and will be liking to take more and more kills in his own favor, but one player needs the revival, and best part for them that they are holding the dip, they are holding the southern edge, and they just want and need to find themselves away from all these circles, but they need to make sure that a lot of teams will be making rotation from the same angle.
Well, that is going to be a conversation when it comes down to the game itself. This is just absolute annihilation being showcased, and Rogue Nation falling down right there. It is going to be a perfect domination being showcased from the side of PUBG Minions, as well as they, as you perfectly mentioned, have 6 kills already confirmed for themselves, and it is going to be Rogue Nation being eliminated on the 12th spot with 4 kills for themselves. Thus, 21 minutes in, we are looking at 11 teams surviving, and a lot of ruckus as has already been created and showcased into this lobby itself, where we certainly do have CNT onto our screens. All 4 members alive, looking absolutely comfortable in terms of the warehouse that they've been able to get, but Trex right next to them is going to be the one that will, of course, be in a bit of a tricky affair, because Sixth Sense on top of them will have a better angle and a better approach. But it seems like as soon as I say that, Ayush has been brought down to his knees, thus leaving Sixth Sense with only 2 players remaining, and the other 2 are already down to their knees. On the other tangent, Ixcel has lost their life as well. On the other conversation was Cosmonauts, who were actually taking players down from the side of NEPALZ. So a lot of fights, a lot of ruckus being showcased in this lobby. 4 Godawari fighters go down and being sent back into the lobby with just 2 kills confirmed for themselves. But again, we can clearly see that PUBG Minions are the ones reigning supreme. They take down another player of Sixth Sense. Saga has been brought down to his knees, and it is going to be straight out of Fiji, who are taking another fight onto the players of Cosmonauts India. And Cosmonauts India's Jin, as well as now, are trying their level best, but will not be able to retaliate, as Sicaro, with not even a single lead brought onto him, not even a little bit of damage brought onto him, has been able to absolutely dominatingly punish the players of Cosmonauts India. A perfect approach from straight out of Fiji.
Flexing his UMP with 4 kills and domination mode coming to his own way. Cosmonauts just got eliminated at the 3rd with just 3 kills surviving at the 9th position. It's all down to 8 teams and 23 players alive, and what a circle it has been. What a ruckus, what a chaos for the last 5 minutes we have been getting to see in all these situations. Some teams have really performed with PUBG Minion getting 8 kills, and SDF, that is going to be straight out of Fiji with 5 kills. Teams are looking pretty strong at the moment, but in all the situations it's going to be T-Rex that need to find themselves in this open situation, and straight out of Fiji is just not letting any teams come closer towards them. With the way they are taking the fight, this is looking all berserk for them, with Sicario getting that knock onto Cosmonaut with that crouch approach. That was so mesmeric to watch, but for now it is going to be Sicario that will be on the facing the brunt edge with that grenade straight onto his face, with play zone taking 6 Sense Tequila, but it was Hazard from the sides of Paradox that will be taking down, and Sicario also falls down and he will be sent to the lobby.
Well, PUBG Minions, I mean, the kill feed is just being dominated from this team. There is absolutely nothing that PUBG Minion Esports are doing wrong. They are in control of every single contestation that they find themselves in. Straight out of Fiji being sent back into the lobby, thus remaining are only 6 teams, but 6 teams clustered on down so very close. This is looking like not an easy approach, but again, Cosmonauts India are the ones who have already been sent back. It is CNT Esports who now are seemingly into the crosshairs of PUBG Minions, and PUBG Minions being out in the open, still not wanting to stop that retaliation Domination and Onslaught, they are just absolutely everywhere, and every fight, every single area that we look, this team is just reigning supreme with 11 kills already confirmed for themselves. We do have NEPALZ also being a part of this. We've got 2 players from NEPALZ. We do have Hanuman as well as Sushi, the 2-man surviving for the side of NEPALZ. But talking about the forecast, there's no other way about it. Of course, it is PUBG Minions Esports who have been absolutely godsmack when it comes to the performance they've been able to showcase, and thus the forecast also does favor them. But along with that, Darksyde is also part of this arena with only 1 kill for themselves, but they also have 4 man remaining. So that's another conversation to be had. We've got 6 teams remaining, but the numbers advantage is where things can go a bit tricky, because NEPALZ have only 2 players surviving. For the side of Paradox, they've got only 1 player surviving. Oh, wow, what a play from...
He tried. He tried. Beryl success, he tried. It's really tough, but he just tried, but he did fall down as we moved down towards the fight. It was really not looking good, and Paradox, in a moment, he has been eliminated with this. NEPALZ also looking not good at this moment, and yes, they have been eliminated for sure, thanks to the onslaught that has come in from the sides of Darksyde. But one thing for sure is that PUBG Minion need to take care of one team, and that is going to be the left-hand side, and that is of Darksyde. Else, I guess, it is all good, all safe, and all merry for PUBG Minion as they head towards the fight. They already have 13 kills, and some players are surviving on some low HP. They need to patch themselves up, but as we head towards some more fight, it is also going to be CNT that they need to find themselves away from this compound. The circle has tended to go away, and slowly and steadily they will be moving, and before that they are trying to deploy a lot of smokes and a lot of grenades into the smoke cloud that is already formed. And this is for sure that if they get 1 knock, they will be pouncing. But how is that going to happen? We have to still wait for that.
Well, they certainly have the crosshairs towards the side of T-Rex for the moment. That's going to be on their back angle, but as that team takes on the fight against the players of T-Rex, it could be PUBG Minion, but no, PUBG Minion have actually decided to go on to another flank angle and will now be trying to go on towards the compound of Darksyde. Darksyde also have 4 players surviving, but that information has already been stopped based on, of course, the smokes that have been deployed from the side of PUBG Minion. On the other tangent, CNT Esports, they certainly push on along to try and take on this onslaught to the players of T-Rex and do not want them to be able to surviving for long. And this could be a conversation that CNT should be able to convert for themselves, because this is a 4-man army pushing on along with the players of T-Rex who are only a 2-man squad for the moment. Of course, we can see that Adi is being given that revival, but will it be enough or in time? That is not looking too good, but eventually that revival has been confirmed, and CNT has now been moved so very close to the players of course, this.
On the other hand, it is PUBG Minion, just 1 player surviving. He gives the revival, and this is certainly not the case where PUBG Minion should have thought. But I told you that it is going to be Darksyde that will be pinning them down, because they had that hold of a compound, and it's the only one team that they need to take care of, else they will be taken out. As Gotcha goes down, that means it is going to be not easy affair for Darksyde. But Fazal also too goes down, but out in the open, it is going to be Claws that will be taken care of. But from both the sides, it is going to be 1v1 affair. We'll have love to see which team is going to be emerging stronger as we head towards the fight. It is going to be Darksyde from the side, Ghost from the side of Darksyde will take in the fight, but still emerging strong. Drop shot comes in and takes down Maga Group. Completely outplayed, completely decimated is what I have the word for the moment. And it is DS that is reigning supreme. They really have a good chance to convert this into a chicken. 6 kill, numbers of kills is not pretty much into the number, but they are in a momentum because they have just eliminated one team that was looking all decimating till this.
Absolutely were, and again, I mean, just a few minutes ago, we did see Darksyde with just 1 kill, and just that one fight that they took against the players of course, PUBG Minions has resulted in them walking away with 6 kills. But now it is going to be a conversation for Trex to answer, because they need to get into the zone, and the zone is certainly not favoring them. CNT on the other tangent have been part of this fight for quite a long time, but they could be outplayed because Darksyde is going to be jumping into the arena from that flank angle for both of these teams, and if that nade parade ends up becoming on point, it could be CNT that were on the flank, but no. Their damage has not been confirmed, that kill has not been confirmed, and Trex still proud with 3-man strong.
Jahan still pretty much into the throne position, but in all these fights, Darksyde is getting all the sound infos, but they are not jumping into this fight, and they're just waiting that once the number gets reduced, it's then where they will strike. But once they strike, it will be Ghost from the sides of Darksyde that will be putting things strong, as CNT Esports not only taking one fight onto the right-hand side, but also taking and making sure that Darksyde don't pounce upon onto the right moment. As Claus gives the revival, it is going to be Praval that will be taking the fight, but Chawan is pretty much close to where Darksyde is still pretty much onto the same angle. But in all this situation, it is going to be just the 2 players surviving from each of the teams, but Darksyde certainly have their numbers on with Praval, Ghost and Claus. It is looking good for them.
It certainly is, and CNT is busy right there, was trying his level best to get that get that cover for himself. But on the other tangent, when it comes down to Salty, his teammate, it is going to be him against the players of Trex, and it is Adi who is trying to, well, not allow CNT to even come in closer to him. Adi, as of now, is looking absolutely in contestation, but eventually, just a second, he looked away, and that was just the moment when CNT approached, and in doing so, have resulted in CNT moving on along. A 2v3 situation is what these teams find themselves in, and CNT and Darksyde, which team is going to be the one that will reign supreme? Of course, right now, Darksyde have a lot more advantage because the way that they are taking on the fight, it is going to be a GG play for this team. Again, I mean, we jumped into that final fight. We had Darksyde on the flank of PUBG Minions with just 1 kill. They were playing so very dormant, but as the game progressed on along, they, in just those final few moments, walked away with 10 more kills and getting themselves, of course, 26 points onto the 2nd position.
Exactly, and straight off the bat, a big jump onto his own, onto the number, 26 total points, 1527 damage. And as you just mentioned, it was just the 1 kill before they started taking the fight. But once they took the fight, they eliminated the complete squad of PUBG Minion. That means 4 points already there. Then they started pouncing upon other team, and the first one was of CNT, and then it was TZX, and slowly and steadily they pounced upon where they were in the most vulnerable position. It was an all easy affair for Darksyde. I told you, brought up before the fight actually started, that it is going to be the best part. It is going to be the tough part for PUBG Minion. If they get their hands over Darksyde, it will be an easy affair because they were holding the compound and they had that knowledge of the same area for a pretty much long time. And this is something that if you are having in all these lobbies, that will certainly pay you off.
Well, what a play once again. This was from the wildcard teams. With that, let's move on and have a look at the MVP coming in from the 2nd game of the day. And the MVP will go in favor of none other than, of course, PUBG Minions player, and that is, of course, going to be Falsey. Again, this team was just reigning supreme. They walked away with, what, 14 kills, off of which 6 kills are, of course, in favor of False right here with 812 damage, 24 minutes, 25 minutes almost of survival time. Amazing play is what this team showcased in the map of Miramar.
Exactly, a brilliant gameplay coming in with a meticulously planned approach at this moment. Let's just talk about that with False getting a lot of kill.
Well, that's just one player because that's the MVP, but along with that, there were so many other players also who timed in along. And with that, we move on to the top 5 players in the list itself. And in that, we do have Darksyde jumping into the arena with, of course, Prowl and Ghost, as you were mentioning as well. I mean, these two lads were again and again just damaging and were bringing in a train of a ruckus performance against the other teams. And in doing so, find themselves in the top players list with 5 kills to prevail. Ghost with 4 kills, 510 damage to him. And again, as we move on, it is going to be PUBG Minions, another player, Smith OP, who is part of this list as well with 3 kills to himself and 588 damage dished out. Eventually, CNT's Wes finds himself with that damage, 764 damage, a lot of damage, but sadly not being able to convert that into the kill. But along with that, let's move on to the match summary, which will show a lot of stats based on the utilities, based on the kills, based on, of course, the longest distance.
Exactly, the longest distance, 294 meter. Not surprised with the way Miramar fights actually pan out. 294 is still pretty much, I guess, achievable, but the number of utilities used is also 14 in terms of CNT Esports Lux, and with that we get towards the highest damage ranking where it is also false, and highest skills is also false. That means he completely dominated the lobby, and him also along with one more his teammate. It was looking reigning supreme as they were just moving in tandem here and there. They were taking the fight. We were the situation where they were just going. It was all looking good for them.
Most certainly was. With that, let's have a look at the match ranking. We do know the team of Darksyde walking away with the chicken dinner, but PUBG Minions not that far behind with 14 kills. They got themselves 22 points. So a GG play from the side of PUBG Minions. But Darksyde, a wonderful turn of events as well for them. 26 kills, a synergistic play is what Darksyde showcased.
But look at this, Team Ronak and Godawari fighters are seen nowhere in this top 8. That means the team that got a good points, a good chunk of points in the very first game are certainly not the part of this game. That brings that if the teams are falling down, there will be other teams that will be making a strong comeback, and it's where the second half of the page where we get to see 4 Godawari fighters with just 3 points, Team Ronak getting none, Illuminate Crew getting none, KTM Rage getting none, and all the 3 teams on 14, 15, 16 were pretty decent on Erangel. So maybe once Erangel come in, it is the time where KTM Rage and Eliminate Kiru and Team Ronak again takes the fight.
Well, now we reach the middle ground of the day itself with 2 games done. That means we can have a little bit of a look onto the storyboard itself, which is of course going to be the overall rankings page that will showcase after 2 games of the 4 games that are supposed to be played today. It is going to be PUBG Minions who find themselves up on top spot with 31 points. Following them very closely with 29 points is going to be Darksyde. So a GG play for both these teams, especially when it came down to this map of Miramar. But Team Ronak, that played supreme in the first game, this time around have been brought down to the 3rd spot with 22 points. And of course, I mean, they did get 3 kills in this game, but that was pretty much it from their side.
The interesting part here is, brother, that PUBG Minions still not getting 1 chicken in these 2 matches, still on the top. The difference is not so much, but the consistency that we talked about in the past, we have talking about still now, is one thing that actually reaps off. And when we head towards the second half of the chart, it is Cosmonaut, it is straight out of Fiji that are getting 2 downward leaps at the 10th and 11th position. NEPALZ certainly performing good in this match, have been rewarded with a lot of placement points getting in their favor, but still KTM Rage, I really expected 6th Sense, I really expected Team ZeroDeath, I really expected a good performance for their side. We still have 2 games left for the day. Will it be the Sanhok that will be game changing and changing their fortune forever? And probably for the day 1 now, because at the end of the day, you really don't want to miss up the mark, because the lead with which the teams are sitting at the top is not so much. It was 31 with the team PUBG Minions sitting at the top,
right,
and 16 is where we get to see the 8th position team. So not much of a difference, and also not much of a difference on the second half of the chart. A lot of things to actually catch up.
Well, as we did say, we've got 2 games done, 2 more games remain. But before we jump into game number 3, we're going to go on a short little break. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Here we go now.
Hello and welcome to PUBG Mobile Club Open 2021. What a perfect wildcard scenario it has been showcased in the previous two games, where of course Ankit and me have been absolutely, well, what can I say? I mean, loss of words is what I'm at. So without further ado, let's jump in with match number 3.
Definitely the third game of the day, and that is going to be of Sanhok, where the flight path is already on its way. We get to see KTM team onto the flight path, and it's where we get to spectate them. And I guess it is going to be a match. It is going to be a chance where they would changing and turning their fortune, because still now it is still now where they are not looking in that groove. They are completely looking off-colored, with them getting down again in the early stage of the game in the back-to-back matches. This is certainly needs to be their spot at this moment, but for now it is going to be Hatin, where Trex is where positioning at this moment, and not a lot of team happening and finding themselves in the camp alpha. I was surprised to see, because I would at least love to see, but Painan is where it is going to be Cosmonaut and also some other team into the lobby, and it is going to be, of course, with Godawari versus Cosmonaut in the area of Painan. What a start it would be.
Well, again, I mean, this time around, I do want to see a little bit of a change of play from the side of Sixth Sense specifically, because that team, as well as actually, I mean, KTM Rage as well. I mean, these are teams that I do want to be able to see a lot more synergistic plays from, and that is something that hopefully in this third game, third being the charm, will hopefully change. But onto the other tangent, talking about those early skirmishes itself, it seems like Godawari find themselves in close proximity against the players of Cosmonauts India, where Cosmonauts India are trying to get themselves absolutely perfectly set up with the loot. And of course, for now, it is only going to be that small little canal that's going to be separating the two positions, but eventually it will be about what sort of a fight will be expected from both of these teams. And eventually, again, Cosmonauts India, we did see this team in the first game itself, just perfect spray and perfect nade parade that showcased from this team resulted in 8 kills from their side and 0 placement points. So a perfect approach from Cosmonauts India. But eventually in the second game it was a different outing, and now in the third one we shall see what sort of a game style are they going to be falling back upon. On the other tangent, talking about Godawari, this team has also been taking some really good fights, but the circle is going to be given a little bit of a curveball to the teams, where indeed the circle moves all the way to the eastern front itself, and that is not going to be too much of a trouble, because after all, when it comes to the map of Sanhok, it is a small map. The teams are going to be able to get their rotations made, hopefully in time. Last time around, we did see a couple of those teams like Trex and others who were making on towards that very late rotation. But right now, again, we fall into one of those moments that is a stalemate affair, where two teams know that they are across each other and in the compounds, but they are not going to be taking a fight. Seems like, well, it is going to be Godawari who are going to be moving away from Painan altogether itself and are not interested in this early skirmish. For the moment, they are going to be just getting away from the position and get themselves acclimated to a completely different affair. And it seems the right call to be made, because after all, the circle is going to be shifting away from them. And right, for now, they find themselves in the zone, but as the circle will move on, it will move away. And that is certainly an IGL call, a good call from the side of Godawari. On the other tangent, talk about another contestation that we can anticipate. Well, we've got Sixth Sense, a team that I was just talking about, that is going to be in close proximity against the players of Paradox, but will they be seeing a fight? For now, it is going to be Sixth Sense that are looking pretty comfortable into the areas, open areas behind Paradise Resort as well as Tatmok, but in between Tatmok and Paradise Resort, rather, I should say, but will that be enough positioning for them to take the fight in their favor? And again, when we move on down towards the zone itself, we do see Rogue Nations players, we do see straight out of Fiji's players who are looking very comfortable also in the zone itself, where there is no other team to contest them for the moment. But again, I mean, this is just the early few minutes of the game. As the game progresses on, the fights are going to be brought on, and when the fights are being brought on, that is when we shall see a lot of annihilating plays. Hopefully from the side of the teams that are finding themselves on the second page of the leaderboard, as I was just mentioning. I mean, KTM Rage, Sixth Sense, we ought to be able to see Cosmonauts India jump into the action, as well as Illuminate and CNT. But will it be that easy? When NEPALZ, now this team, first game did not work in their favor. Second game, they did take on the players of Cosmonauts India and others as well, as they found themselves in those final circles of the Miramar game, but that was not enough because the points, because every single time it is the consistency that is something that these teams are going to have to work for, and that consistency starts right off the bat from the first day itself, from the first game itself. First game you try and experiment, second game you try and understand, the third one from third game onwards you should definitely try and find a flow to the game that you have to play, but it is not really that easy.
Exactly. Definitely, because it's the first time the team are actually finding themselves in the game like Sanhok. Erangels and Miramar are done. One more Erangel will be left for the day, but it is going to be the Sanhok. And all these maps actually offers you a lot of opportunities. And as we've been talking about, I mean, this is a sort of map that is small in size, and the fight actually erupts right off the bat. But I'm surprised to see, since the teams are actually not knowing the opposition's drop location, but still settling in the group, still settling in a truce. And this is something that fascinates me at the early stage of the game. That means the team are really mature enough not to take the fight in the initial stage of the game. And since no fight, 5 minutes 32 markers in the game of Sanhok, that means the team are playing passively at this moment, and this is something that they are planning to be part of a longer run, because at the end of the day only 16 teams will be progressing for the finals, and for the finals, and just because of that they are looking in a true situation at the moment. But for now, it is going to be AWM, the Arctic Faulkner Magfair, and it is dropping onto the area of Kampong, where none of the teammates, none of the players are actually aligned. And talking about that, it is going to be Eliminate Crews. This is also a team that is doing things really in a different way. Cobra and God using those vehicles. We don't get to see a lot of vehicles in the game of Sanhok because it already creates a lot of sounds, and that's where you get vulnerable. But since a lot of changes, a lot of metas changes are happening, I mean, you may get to see some other things, because in the last game itself we got to see Beryl 6x spray. I mean, I won't be surprised if some sort of things maybe used in this match too.
Well, that certainly could be the case. I mean, it all depends on the players themselves, and if they do want to be a part of that bolt action, they can very well do so. Again, does not definitely work with the map, but it is the player and of course their skill that is going to be reigning supreme more than the gun itself, and they need to find that comfort, and if they do so in the bolt action, well, it's theirs for the taking. On the other tangent, it is Illuminated who has found CNT, and right off the bat, as soon as they did, he has been brought down, and Lux been sent back into the lobby from the side of CNT Esports, and Illuminate get that first blood, get that first ball rolling in terms of the points, and this is where it is looking absolutely in control of Illuminate indeed. But the teams are of course going to be trying to get away and get into the zone itself. Behind them is CNT Esports right here, who are about 340-400 meters away pretty much from the zone itself, and on the other side, from Bootcamp, we come on towards PUBG Minions, a team that was just destructive in the previous game of Miramar. 14 kills is what they walked away with, but along with that, it is going to be for Godawari, who move along against the players of straight out of Fiji, and again, being out of the open, this is not the kind of play that is expected from a team like Fort Godawari. I mean, jumping in with just no utilities being utilized, that is not going to be working in your favor, and right off the bat, of course, it is going to be Josh, who has been able to bring down one player from Fort Godawari, and the teammates are going to try and get that revived. Teammates are going to try and bring in that utility parade, but will it be enough to bring the lobby in favor of Fort Godawari against the players of straight out of Fiji?
Josh goes down, and a good knock coming in, but in favor, it has been one more player going down from the side of Fort Godawari, and this is certainly not the case that the player must be looking for. With Sicario pinning one more grenade, if this gets closer and closer to where Godawari is, just imagine the rebound that would have taken from the edge of the window. Things could have certainly changed drastically, but it is gonna be low-key from the backhand side with that low-key approach, slowly and steadily hovering his crosshair onto the head of Zero. Will he be able to draw one more knock? But on the other side, it is gonna be dead side from Klaus that will be bursting things off for I8 crew. So obviously it was Illuminate crew that was moving in this vehicle, and certainly it's their demise for the moment. Players are still left, the team is still left, but maybe on the brink of one or two player.
Well, again, this fight is extending and prolonging for a long moment, and this is not anticipated, of course, from the side of Fort Godawari. They are trying their level best to pincer down the placement of course, straight out of Fiji, but eventually, when it comes to the placement of straight out of Fiji itself, it was working in their favor. It certainly should have been a confirmed kill for themselves, and finally, we do see Sicario jumping into the action with some burst, and of course, going to be bringing down the plays and the points for himself. Eventually, that flank angle that's been created from his teammate is going to be resulting in this team of straight out of Fiji bringing the fight on to the players of Fort Godawari itself, and Fort Godawari are left with just these two players surviving. Josh flashes out all by himself, and eventually as he does so, it is going to be a demise and of course end of Fort Godawari players. The push that they created, I mean, out in the open with no utilities, that was just a class 101 of what not to do. But nevertheless, I mean, They still have opportunities remaining. There's just day number 1. But will it be enough? On the other tangent, I mean, straight out of Fiji, a good start for them.
Definitely, but not certainly for Godawari. Trust me, they were nowhere and never in this fight, to be honest. Right off the bat, when they started to initiate the fight, it was one player going down. Then there was no sort of retreat. There was no sort of answer for those low-keys approach when he tried to create that flank angle. That certainly pinned down the players of Godawari in just one edge, and they were just not. It was just not enough to move away from this. From Sicario, from the right-hand side, he was trying to pin him down, and that was the game end for them if you just talk about that. But for the moment, it is going to be the cave area where we can expect contestation, where it is eliminate crew pretty much close, where a dead side is already there. We got to see one knock and one finish that came in with that vehicle explosion, but with certain teams also joining the fray, we may expect some fight that can erupt. But pretty much it seems that apart from the fight that we have seen till now, it is going to be a safe affair. We get to see a multicolored, multifaceted approach from the teams, and every players and every team are holding their side off in the compounds into the area where they actually need to find a pawn. But into the heat of Ban, there is a team that I would love to have my eye set upon, and that is going to be of Rogue.
Well, on the other side, it seems like Ixcel find themselves in a little bit of a trouble as they have one of their players knocked. Eventually, of course, teammates are there to be able to give that revival, but will it be on time? Will it be enough to bring in that team that is trying to dominate against them? Eventually, for now, it is going to be, as we were just mentioning, Ixcel who are trying to take on the fight, and it is none other than, well, PUBG Minions who find themselves in close proximity. Ixcel better be careful, because when it comes down to PUBG Minions positioning, they are on top of that hill, and that is going to be working for them. Eventually, the positioning is working for them, but do they have the information is what the conversation should be, because PUBG Minions, even though they are at the top of the hill, will they be able to retaliate against this? And Ixcel being very, very quiet. Ixcel not really wanting to give away the information, not trying to even take on the fight itself. They are being very, very quiet and very low-key, so to say, in terms of the approach that they wanted to take in that fight. But on the other tangent, it is going to be Illuminate's players who are trying to take on the fight against the players of CNT Esports. And CNT, being none the wiser, have gotten a lot of damage, but eventually both these teams find themselves outside the zone, and that is something they're going to have to completely change, because if they want to be able to survive, they're going to have to get away from this position. But for the moment, CNT Esports are the ones who are in control, and just perfect nade parade being brought on is going to be absolutely decimating the players of Illuminate, with that only one final player remaining, and that is going to be, of course, Sai Hung, and that player needs to bring the best of the best play to be able to walk away or completely just get out of that situation. For now, of course, we can clearly see that he's going to be working towards getting that revive to his teammate. On the other tangent, when it comes to the players of CNT Esports, they are creating a flank angle, one from the left, one from the right, and eventually it'll be a demise and the end for the team of Illuminate crew.
You remember, it was one player from the side of CNT Esports that was taken down from the same squad, and it is now that CNT Esports have retaliated in fashion, and on cost of 2 players losing, but just 1 kill. That means 1 player have fallen down to the play zone, if we have just talked about that. But certainly there is a lot of vacant space if we get to see on the southeastern side of map, closer to where the area where Strait of Fiji are positioned, and from the northern side. So it will be an easy entry for teams like NEPALZ and teams like one team that was trying to make an entry from the southern side, but certainly it is not going to be an easy affair for Team ZeroDeath, as they now face the brunt from coming in from sides of Sixth Sense, with Eclairs trying to deploy a lot of grenade onto the face of Team ZeroDeath. But Team ZeroDeath are on a wiser move, are already trying to outplay the players in with the sort of approach they are going down with the Saga. It seems that he has faltered down. That means the kill needs to be secured, and just because of that, Smoking is just not over-aggressing. That it seems that he's trying to take up the fight, but on the tangent, he is not trying to over-aggress. But from the backhand side, it is gonna be Hazer from the sides of Paradox that is actually sandwiching the situation. And we have seen a lot of sandwiches, but this can be a perfect day end for the team that is in the middle of all these fights.
Well, it's turning into a PBJ situation indeed, and in that doing so, when it comes down to the butter itself, it is going to be none other than Sixth Sense who find themselves in that retaliation. On the other tangent, it is now seeming like Sixth Sense player Frenzy was able to bring in a little bit of that damage. Now it's on final towards Tequila, and it is once again Tequila who is left all by himself, and he will now have to question as to what sort of a play can he be expected, or should he be working towards, because after all, he is still in that same exact middle position, and he will be sandwiched if he's not careful enough. He's running in the open with no utilities whatsoever at all, no smoke basically being utilized, and that is something that could have very well resulted in his demise. But it seems like he's lucky enough for the moment to have been absolutely get into his teammate and will be able to get that revival. But on the other side, Sixth Sense, Saga and Tequila, because they were in the open, it is going to be ZeroDeath who will get the better half of that fight and will be reigning supreme. With the 2 kills confirmed, they're going to be running away from that situation, and Paradox going to be following them.
Tequila tried, but he didn't have any sort of smoke, and just because of that, he had to make a close in onto the players and then just try to segregate the loot. But it was a day end for them as they just succumbed to that, as Team Zero put the final in the coffin. And now we are heading towards where Ixcel are pretty much close to where it is gonna be Ronak, Team Ronak that is in front of them, and it is gonna be Assassin that brought 2 knocks straight on the front on the bat, and it is not looking good with that 1 UMP, 1 single spray. It's certainly not looking good with Alcoholic still standing strong in the last game. Also in the game of Erangel, we saw he was the one that actually was a survivor for the whole of the team. He needs to take the charge, he needs to take care of, but he won't be as Z-Boy takes him down.
Well, Ixcel certainly in control of this fight again as well as they move on along with 4 kills confirmed for themselves. Just that 1 knock that was on the side of course, Parashaw, but eventually it is certainly looking like Ixcel are definitely going to be dominating as they move across from one fight to the next. As of now, as we move on to the map itself, again, a lot of teams that find themselves into the comfort of the zone are now going to have to make that rotation because the circle has just shifted towards the northern side, and Rogue find themselves very much in the comfort of the zone as well. So Rogue Nation looking okay, but on the other side, the teams who are on the southern tangent are going to have to, well, start moving and start making that rotation. But as they do so, there are so many teams from the southern side that will be doing the exact same thing. We are 16 minutes in. Now we are certainly going to be jumping into the fights. So again, I mean, just to summarize with Group A and B's fights that we are noticing, fights are being taken across the board. Whichever team spots, they do not try and shy away. There are certain teams who are being a bit resilient, and then there are certain teams who are just playing a little too passive. For example, Sixth Sense and the likes. But hopefully that is going to change as the game progresses on along. And this is when an onslaught is probably being expected from the side of ZeroDeath or Trex. We shall see. For ZeroDeath, they are very well in place and they are just absolutely working towards getting that information where 2 players are up on the hill and 2 players are inside the compound itself, trying to get that perfect flank for themselves. But Trex, they are looking neat. They are not moving along too much. They are not giving away a lot of information, but eventually it seems like it is going to be Trex. Yep, it is going to be Trex who are going to be taking that fight, and it is Bot-Eye who has been brought down to his knees, and are they very much in control of the contestation, has been able to get a lot of information, and now it is going to be Trex who might just be reigning supreme. For now, there are no utilities being utilized, there is no nade being spotted on across as well, but eventually Adi is the man of the hour who is certainly reigning supreme against the placement of ZeroDeath.
Definitely, and it seems that now Adi has actually heard your call and he has tried to deploy the grenade, but it seems that trajectory won't be enough to take the player down as he has now used the follow-up grenade. But yes, it was enough as Bot-Eye has fallen down, and one follow-up grenade can actually do the business, and with that it is seeming that Smokin is just surviving on a slither of an HP with the Tango pretty much close to where the rest of the 2 players are. It seems that now Adi is raining down all those grenades just because he has got the 1 success. It's the confidence with which you come up in all these fights, but on the other hand, it's going to be PUBG Minions, obviously, that are taking the fight against one team, and that is going to be straight out of Fiji. In all the situation, it is also Darksyde that is also getting the lot of kills, but for the moment, it is obviously straight out of Fiji right off the bat. 6 kills already on his name. But talking about this fight that has actually erupted, it seems that the player has now gotten the revival as for sure, as now T-Rex has gotten 1 kill into its own favor, but still not enough for them to actually completely decimate the lobby against them, as now T-Rex are just getting and being pretty much conscious about the surrounding, because if we make a lot of noise, it will be a third party, it will be a sandwich situation, and just because of that, it seems that they are not giving a lot of sound cues.
Well, again, I mean, T-Rex were very much in control of this contestation. They had those utilities perfectly working in their favor. On the other tangent, we move on down towards straight out of Fiji, a team that is absolutely dominating in the kills department, had the opportunity to take on the players of Cosmonauts India, and again, class 101 of how to make a push without utilities being utilized from Cosmonauts India, they have just moved on absolutely in open, and straight out of Fiji being the better half of this fight are taking down the players of Cosmonaut India one by one. Of course, Cosmonauts India did showcase a lot of damaging skill as well, as they were able to bring down 2 players. That is going to be Jash and Flex, but eventually they will be taken care of from the side of SOF, that's straight out of Fiji, and they will of course be able to give that revival to their teammates, and with that they have 9 kills to themselves, and still all 4 players are going to be able to walk away from this fight.
I mean, till now we have seen each and every team getting that strong map. If we talk about Erangel, it was Team Ronak, it was Miramar, where Darksyde actually stuck with the performance, and now 9 kills already into just the 20 minutes of the game with losing 2 players. It is not looking that good, but still it is a moment where actually the teams can actually capitalize upon. But the moment Cosmonauts will be making an entry into circle, it will be Deadeye's Guacha and Ghost that will be pinning him down. But on the other hand side, it is gonna be PUBG Minion that will be taking the course, and Cosmonauts India have been completely thrown out of the match with Darksyde making an entry. It is not going to be an easy task, 122 meter, but they are making a headway onto one team, and that is going to be of Rogue Nation. And with this, Team ZeroDeath still surviving. Pot Eye has been knocked down, and now T-Rex are charging in. Now T-Rex are charging in. They have now decided that enough of enough. We are going to charge upon you.
Well, it is just few moments before all these teams actually start taking on those fights itself. Right now, ZeroDeath being so very close to Trex indeed, but eventually will not be making any smoking answers for now, because he's being very, very quiet in those bushes and has not been spotted. So he can very well get the better half of this fight if he plays this card right. But eventually, he's surrounded by the players of Trex indeed, and now the blue zone also going to be running away from him, where indeed the Trex players are finding themselves in a different fight. This could be a moment where Smokin could very well retaliate and try and take on a kill for himself eventually. But for now, of course, the main conversation for him is going to be to get into the zone. That is going to be his priority. On the other tangent of the map itself, it is going to be Rogue Nation who are taking on the fight. But as soon as he got into the zone, it seems like Trex has gotten the better half.
Definitely, and seems that also one team that is onto the receiving end, and that was of ZD, and that was obviously Team ZeroDeath for the moment. But straight out of Fiji, right off the bat, they secured a lot of kill, but since they were just too over-aggressive, it was PUBG Minion that took care of him, and now it is going to be Paradox, 3 players surviving, Quit, G1 and Hazard that will be making an entry into the zone onto the edge of the circle, northeastern side. They are not in a good position at the moment as they don't have a lot of cover, but they are trying to create the smoke cloud for the moment, as we get to see with Chauhan going down. It is also not looking good for Trex, as PUBG Minion again shining in this match. It has been twice in the game today. Will it be one more time? As they still don't have a chicken dinner, still far away from chicken dinner, I would say. Can this be a moment where they would creating this moment for themselves, as KTM are certainly looking pretty strong at this moment. With Sujan goes down, Lunatics just surviving a feather of an HP. The players are taking the fight, and they are meticulously planning everything for sure. But Rogue Nation, this is not looking good for them, as C47 as just the last player surviving. From the looks of it, it seems with Hitman bleeding off, this is looking pitiable for them. And on the other side, it is Lunatic OP that goes on domination mode with 3 kills, and the winner chicken dinner forecast. The stats is already into the favor of Para.
It certainly is. I mean, Paradox most certainly do seem to be looking like in control of this contestation, but KTM Rage have not really decided to fall back. They are still part of this fight with 3 teams remaining. We've got KTM Rage with 8 kills to themselves. Paradox on the other side are taking on a lot of fights with 6 kills for themselves as well. And with that, we've got only 2 teams remaining now. KTM, they are again and again stuck with trying to get that revival for himself. We can clearly see that one player of the side of KTM, that is going to be Couple, is onto a flank angle and certainly has the advantage of that hill itself. But will it be enough to go against the players of Paradox, where Paradox are trying to make that open rotation, and in the result it has brought just down to 0.1 HP, and Para was absolutely in a destructive mode as he made that perfect burst.
Definitely, and with this Paradox G1 goes down, but still surviving is one team, and that is going to be of KTM with numbers advantage on into the favor, with the ridge advantage, with everything into his own, with zone, and it is looking that it is going to be this time that KTM will be taking the course of this chicken. With Quit going down, it is going to be the Hazard last player surviving, but when he goes down, he will be securing more kill, as it is going to be 1v2 affair against him, with Lunatic still surviving. And it seems that now Manish has also been dealt with a big blow, and where it was earlier position where KTM was surviving, it is going to be Paradox last player that is surviving, and that is going to be of Hazard, with Manish getting the 1 kill into his own favor. It is going to be a 1v1 affair where both the teams, both the players are just separated by this big cliff, by this mountain. Since Hazard had that crate in his own hand, he tried to loot, and he's trying now to grenade the players, and this is certainly where KTM Rage can go down with that rebound. Still not enough as he survives on 40 HP. He needs to take that revival, he needs to get those first aid done, but he's realized the situation that there are more grenades coming in. With this one more low toss, is it enough? Is that enough? Is it? There we go. It is gonna be Paradox that will be getting that chicken dinner, and realizing the sense of situation is what makes this game important. And Paradox's last player realized it. It was Hazer, it was him, it was with his sixth sense that made it all sure. He knew that it is gonna be that rebound, it is gonna be that low toss grenade that will be doing the business, and that business has resulted him 1923 damage. I mean, how often do we get to see Blotter this amount of damage? The ruckus that they have created, the statement that they have made, this is looking where each and every team are just fighting their heart out.
They most certainly are. I mean, as you so perfectly mentioned, 1,923 damage dished out from this team. A Paradox OCE, they were in complete annihilating mode, and that is what they did, and that is what they showcased. And again, I mean, going back to the conversation that you were talking about, Ankit, it almost seems like, you know, from first game to the next game to the next, as we talk about those maps itself, certain teams are looking absolutely destructive on those individual maps. But then again, today is just day number 1, so we'll have to come back to that conversation and see if that puts off a different sort of a play itself into the storyboard. But right now, let's have a look at the MVP coming in from this game, and that most valuable player from Sanhok goes down towards none other than Paradox's Hazer with 5 kills, 819 damage and 2 assists, but 0 healing done. I mean, the guts of the dude, it's just amazing.
He just put the lid onto the body. He didn't get any single one, else the healing could have been at least 10, 12, 18, any sort of a 2-digit or 3-digit number that we get to see usually. But in a game of Sanhok, the fast-paced game, the bloodhound that comes in, it is really tough to survive, and Hazer, all credit to him.
Absolutely. What a play that was made. On the other side, when we talk about KTM Rage's play as well, it was looking really ferocious as they did have a lot of kills, and thus bringing us up to the other players, and that is the top 5 players list. We do clearly see that Hazer was the MVP, but along with that, straight out of Fiji, Sicario was looking really confident and comfortable with 5 kills, 818 damage. I mean, look at that. In 19 minutes, he was able to dish out 818 damage. So a lot of fights that Sicario was a part of. And as we move on down to the 3rd spot, it is Ixcel's Drizzy Boy. So 5 kills for him as well, but 477 damage in 21 minutes. So it clearly showcases Sicario and the kind of destruction that he was being a part of. With this, we move on to the match summary, and the stats, well, they speak for themselves.
Definitely, the stats speaks for themselves, and it speaks for Sicario itself, as he eventually, again, not only in that top 4 player list, top 5 player list, again in the match summary with 224 meter longest distance kill, and the Para Hazard highest damage is what he has been able to secure, and he has been standout performer for his team. The 3 other players have been in that touch. Just because of that, Hazard got a lot of assistance, and since he made a lot of dent, a lot of bullet onto the players, he find himself in the highest damage tally, and with Hazard once more in that maximum assist. So a complete gameplay where he supported his teammate, where he just led the teammate from front till the last moment. He survived, and not only survived, he got the chicken. For a moment, it was for me seemingly like possible that KTM could have gotten the chicken, but it was not the case. But with this, we head towards the match ranking, where we get to see Paradox OC 9 kills, 24 points, but KTM Rage 10 kills. This is also one team that really raised in this match, and a lot of points have actually been shared between them and Ixcel Rogue Nation. So a lot of team from 1 to 6, we get to see 6 teams getting close towards that 2-digit marker. With PUBG Minion Esports, one more consistent gameplay. I mean, 10 to 12 points at any fine day is one thing that I accept as a good point in each match. Even if you're not getting the chicken dinner, 10 to 12, 10 to 12, 10 to 12, continuously repeating the same momentum, same sort of point, eventually leaps up and adds to your tally. Because if you take those 10, 11, 12 points that don't look much, but once it gets eliminated, that becomes a big leap.
It certainly does look forward to. Again, second page, it is going to be ZeroDeath starting things off. Again, I mean, on the first page, so many teams walked away with so many kills that even though we had 2 teams with 10 kills for themselves, I mean, straight out of Fiji looking absolutely dominating. Same can, of course, we said for the chicken dinner winner team and the KTM Rage as well. But eventually, as we converse onto the second page, 6 cents not finding that foothold again. So this is something that is not looking good for 6 cents. But eventually, as the story is being created, we shall have a look at the overall standing. There, onto the first page, it is Paradox who are going to be moving on to the first position itself with that chicken dinner, and 18 kills, 43 points is what they walk away with.
Definitely, it's just the 3 matches, and if you get 1 chicken, it is bound for you to get on the top. But PUBG Minion Esports, 3 matches, 23 total kills, the highest in this lobby till now. Placement wise is not that much, as we haven't seen any chicken, but the lead with which they are sitting, that means they have the firepower. They are playing it to its perfection. They are taking the fight. They're just not frightened to take any fight, and once they get get closer towards the chicken. It was the last game that they could have converted. I was talking about that third time is maybe the lucky time, maybe the lucky charm, but certainly was this not the case. But as we move down towards the second half of the chart, it's Illuminate crew that has been constantly finding themselves now from drowning just down onto the water, and now they are on the second half of the chart at the 9th position. Third match, 21 total points, but still not much of a point difference between them and straight out of Fiji. But 6 cents. I mean, 3 matches, 3 points. It's just this match that they got a total of 3 total points. I mean, this is not looking good if we just talk about that. As we just say, I mean, 1 average point per match is just not, I would say, acceptable in this lobby, because you need to take the fight. In the game of Erangel, they found themselves in that pitiable position. It was a destruction for them, but I guess once they head towards the last game of the day, that is going to be Erangel, they will be charging things up.
Exactly, just one more game remaining, and for that, before we jump into that final game of Erangel, we need to go on a very, very short break. Stick around, we're going to be right back.
Here we go now.
Hello and welcome to PUBG Mobile Club Open Fall Split 2021. We are on day number 1. 3 games are done, of course. Now we jump into the final game. That is going to be on Erangel. And now we shall see, of course, Group A and B performing and certain teams actually underperforming as well. But since they've already played against each other on Erangel, now we shall finally see what sort of a contestation and difference in drop location are to be expected. With that, let's jump directly into this game and have the flight path on our screens any moment now.
There we go. There we go. The flight path is already on its way with the players dropping down, and KTM Rage, the team that got the second position in this last match, is where we head towards, and they have already made an early drop towards the area of Kamishki. That means they are not going towards the same area where they have been going so in the past, because again it's not the not Giorgio that they have played in the past, but for the moment it seems that Kamishki is where they are settling for the moment, with the team slowly and steadily making a movement, and it's gonna be Cosmonauts India towards the area of Severny, I guess, and slowly and steadily, since the flight path is completely dominating on the northern northern side, it will be an impossible task if the team wants to go to the area of a military base or Novorupnoy, as it's completely far-fetched approach. They can still go, but in that situation, if the circle just favors them, just imagine what sort of advantage, what sort of scheme that they will be having upon that will certainly be a great thing to look at. But for the moment, it seems that it is looking pretty much decent at this moment, where certainly some teams might go for those drop clash. At the Rozhok, it is going to be Zero that they have complete control with one player in a closer proximity. And the thing that we're talking about, maybe a southern shift, maybe a western shift. We get a mix of both, south-western shift with the military base. Just apart from Novorupnoy, each and every area is under the control of this circle. And in all the situation, it is going to be CNT Esports that will getting the favor of it, with them finding themselves in the southern side of Query and of course the area of Ferry Pier, and a lot of team too on the edge of the circle, because it's the school, the Rozhok, that's still on the edge of the circle. And talking about that, it is going to be NEPALZ Bhute holding that DBS. I mean, it's a terrible moment to be on the facing this closer proximity, because DBS, one shot, you go down.
Absolutely, and it is none other than PUBG Minions who are finding themselves in a bit of a tricky situation against the players of NEPALZ. But eventually, NEPALZ are being very slow in terms of the way that they are trying to push on along, and in doing so have already gotten a bit of a knock for themselves. And of course, PUBG Minions is a team that does just dominate when it comes to the aggressive stance, and that is exactly what the player has done. And in doing so has resulted in given a lot of damage actually to one player, and now Star has also been brought down to his knees. So in a moment, it was seeming like NEPALZ might just be reigning supreme against the players of PUBG Minions, but eventually it is PUBG Minions who have been able to get a lot of knocks for themselves. But eventually the kill department seems to be going in favor of NEPALZ, where Baun has been able to get that confirmed kill for him, and eventually they will be able to get that revival as well. So not the best fight for NEPALZ, but at least they were able to get a kill confirmed for themselves. So first blood being drawn in to Erangel in just the first 3 minutes itself.
And surprisingly, it's no city. It's just the outskirt, those small buildings, those compounds that you find where you get a lot of vehicles spawn. And I guess maybe the players might have dropped down just to find that vehicle. And just because of that, on the southeastern side of school is where we got to see these fights actually happening. And with one kill getting secured, it's the two player that is going to be Star and Bhute surviving just on what you get after revival. And PUBG Minion Esports, one knock. Smith is the one that got them into that strong hand in the game of Miramar, and losing upon them is something that will be haunting them throughout the course of this game. And the players are slowly and steadily moving and inching towards their favorite drop location, and it seems that they are going downtown towards where the circle has already formed. That means an early rotation, and just because of that they are getting the favor of it. But it seems that straight out of Fiji is also taking fight against KTM, as Lunatic has been completely finished, and also not a start that KTM would have hoped for, because last game second position, this game same consistency. I would have expected, the fans would have expected, the players would have too expected, but not the case, with Jash finishing him off with those punching actions, with finally in the coffin shotgun. There you go, straight out of the lobby.
He was not. He was Josh. Of course, we saw him trying to punch initially, and then he was like, "You know what? This is too boring, dude. This
is not dying.
Just not gonna happen."
Let's finishing quickly.
Absolutely, and with that, of course, this team of straight out of Fiji getting 2 initial kills for themselves. So 2 points already being confirmed in the 4.5 minutes of the game being started, and we still are, of course, faced with 16 teams in the lobby, so not a complete squad wipe as of now, but eventually quite a lot of interesting open fights are being showcased from these teams. And when it comes to that area itself, it is going to be a area of Milta from the looks of it, where we do see Trex trying to get themselves acclimated and looted about. But will it be enough? Will there be any contestations as they try and make that rotation? For now, that certainly does not seem to be the case, as they are looking very much comfortable. On the other tangent, talk about a team that I've been wanting to see a little bit more of livability from, and it's none other than, of course, Sixth Sense. There's no two ways about it to talk about it. But again, this is just day number 1. This is just getting their feet wet. Eventually, as the days progress on along, hopefully things will start chiming in for the team of Sixth Sense.
Exactly, as you just mentioned, getting their feet wet. I love it. I love it. And the Paradox would love to find themselves in the same position. Georgiopol is where they are positioned at this moment, with just 440 meters apart. It is just not the 440 meters apart. It's the circle that will be taking its course. Just imagine the circle tended to go towards the area of southern military bridge, where it was a PUBG Minion that were really preempting to go towards, but the rotation of Paradox Quit has been completely noted down, has been duly noted down. Saga, can he bring one knock? And that will be a bad Saga for him. That will be a bad story, as Saga is again getting close to the players. The rest of the players, his location is completely anonymous, and he don't want to get a single shot away from his barrel, else it will be a time where he can be taken care of, as I don't see any other player in the same vicinity. The players are on the backhand side, but a completely far-fetched approach is where we get to see. But since the player are coming in the open, one knock.
Well. GG play from this from the side of Saga indeed, as he was able to confirm that perfect knock for himself. Ixcel was the one who actually helped him out a little bit in that conversation. But as the fight progresses on along, now they've given away that information, and that information is now going to be, of course, contested from the side of Paradox eventually as well. But it is going to be 6 Senses players who are in the open, and that could very well be a result of a fight that could go against them, because being out in the open, you are open, of course, from all angles to take on those fights, and that is exactly what Queet has done. He was able to bring in a little bit of knock, but eventually, again, when Paradox decides to jump in to get that perfect revival for himself, it seems like Viz and Queet are the ones who are going to be reigning supreme in terms of that cover fire and flank angle situations, and in doing so, Saga has been brought down to his knees. Eclairs has not yet given away his information or his position, but it is only a matter of time, because he will have to go in to get his teammate Saga revived as well. But will he be deciding to do so? On the other tangent, we can see Viz with his Carl jumping in and going to be trying to get into a perfect spot to take that kill, to confirm that kill for himself. Of course, Eclairs right here, who is trying his level best to try and maintain his position, not give away a lot of opportunity to the team to take on the burst damage and the fights, but it is not going to be as easy, because after all, when it comes to the placement of 6th Sense, it is, well, they know. They've completely given away the information, and Paradox know exactly where the team is, and now Eclairs is also coming in to give a little bit of that helping hand, but in doing so, they are regrouping, and regrouping, if Paradox decides, could very well result in the annihilation of 6th Sense. But seems like Paradox is not really deciding to do that. They're going to be jumping away from the area, and they are going to be trying to get into the better situation and then maybe take a fight. For now, 6th Sense, well, they got a lucky start is what I would say.
Exactly. The lucky start, as you perfectly mentioned, but 6th Sense are now slowly and steadily would love to find themselves and inching towards this circle, as they are still 508 meters away, and with the circle giving those damages, it is more often that we don't get to see those random shifts. But since the circle is completely in that limbo situation, they are still in that dilemma where to go. So, but the fight is still erupting. The fight is still on, as the Paradox now decides to find themselves in those around those bridge areas, where they for a moment just stopped by just in order to pinch down the players. But as soon as they now find themselves in the vehicle, it will be a safe passage. But on the other hand side, this is going to be obviously Cosmonauts India onto the receiving head, with the 4 Godawari fighters taking the fight, and these are the players that were caught on the open around the area where they were trying to make a rotation on the southern side of Gutka, where one player has been completely eliminated. Till now, we haven't seen a lot of head-to-head fight. The fights were erupting, but still, since it's the early stage of the game, the circle is where the players are prioritizing for the moment, and then they will be heading towards the zone. But it will be an easy passage, I will guess, for PUBG Minion if they don't get the bridge camped, else it will be a real tough trouble for them, as we get to see NEPALZ also making it difficult for Trex onto the eastern side of the map, where we get to see them indulging themselves in a fight. Maybe we can get to see, but apart from that, it is going to be an easy task for the rest of the lobby. But I guess to see, yep, there is some fight that's still erupting, and this time it is going to be again 4 Godawari fighters. Cosmonauts India is caught in the open. The rotation has been completely cut off, and not only cut off, they have been made to pressure to find themselves in the open situation. Their vehicle has been completely destroyed. Still not destroyed, but they don't have that vehicle to find themselves in the vehicle, else they will be surely taken care of.
Well, I'm loving the play that 4 Godawari are making, actually, because when you talk about the 3 players, right, they're on top of that ridge, and one of their players is onto a flank angle, and that is something that can very well sandwich the positioning of this team, and in doing so, it has resulted in a knock, and Beast has been brought down. Zeems Gaming has certainly been on point when it comes down to his Carl's approach, and in doing so, through the smoke, he has been able to get another knock for himself, and this is where Cosmonauts India once again have been beaten. I was talking about it in the pre-game segment. Will Cosmonauts India bring in the same sort of story that they brought in the first game of the day? Well, it seems not to be the case, but 4 Godawari players, now having confirmed those 2 knocks, are going to be jumping in to get those kills confirmed.
Definitely, Sabine have jumped off to carve out the last flesh and just to finish things off, and that will be created in a crate for sure. 3 kills is what they are standing at the moment, with Zero and Sabine joining the fray. It is looking pretty much phenomenal at this moment, and Nepal is also making it difficult for Trex. That is completely different position, and all the 4 players holding the compound were close to where the end part of the Novoripnoy bridge is, and this is where they are positioned at this moment, with Star jumping out of the vehicle, jumping out of the compound. Now they will be traversing with these individual Coupe RVs, with McLaren also coming to frame, so a lot of luxury also being added. But with this, we'll sooner or later get to see one more shift, and maybe towards the area on the western side where a lot of teams are expecting to be at, but some teams are still in the blues. I'm talking about Ixcel, where the players are slowly and steadily moving in entry, but once they do, they have to, 1, cross the mountain. 2nd, if they cross to do so, it is going to be the 6th sense. So one thing that you were waiting to see, will 6th sense be coming into action? It seems that maybe this time they would come into the action, but it seems that Darksyde is also in a good position where they are in the hold of those Water City angles. They are just waiting. Once the circle constricts, they will be going for the entry, because till now we don't see any sort of movement, any sort of commotion for them. But player zone takes care of Ixcel. That means you really need to pay respect to the zone.
You most certainly do. I mean, waiting for those late rotations certainly does not always favor you. Yes, sticking to the edge of the zone is the playstyle that so many teams do end up trying to make, but eventually when it comes to this lobby, so many teams are trying to play that sort of a edge zone situation that it is certainly not favoring them, because there is just so much a competition through on to those edges. With that, move on to the airdrop itself. We do have the AWM being brought on. Of course, on Sanhok, that did not make sense, but on Erangel, that bold action will certainly be favoring them. With that, I was just thinking about this. The circle, I hope, will move on down towards the bridge, and it has.
Seen in this past.
Yes, exactly. If it goes down to the bridge area, that is where a lot of fishing nets will be required from these teams. But eventually, for the moment, we still do have all 16 teams remaining.
Trust me, ZeroDeath is in the best of the best position. They don't have any thing to actually worry about from the backhand side, because it is going to be just the water. They just need to make sure that they don't receive any shot if the players try to bridge camp the situation. It's the only thing else they are charged upon. I guess ZeroDeath have that firepower, have that caliber to find themselves in a position where they will be taking things care of. But on the other hand side, it is not going to be an easy task for the most of the teammates. Just imagine, Darksyde, they are making a very late rotation, and once they make a rotation, it is going to be Paradox, it is going to be 4 Godawari, it is going to be 6th sense that will be completely jam-packing onto the other side. It is also going to be KTM that will be facing the brunt of the situation. But in all these situations, it is going to be CNT that will be sitting very quietly, very nicely, very passively into the outskirts of Ferry Pier.
Well, for now, this positioning for CNT Esports is certainly going to be working for them, but for how long? When it comes to the teams, all the teams are going to be rushing into this small little zone, and in doing so, so many of these teams are going to get caught off guard, but eventually bring our conversation down towards the fights themselves. We do see Rogue Nation very close to another team, and that's going to be the team of... well, what team is that? I could not see. No, it is the ZeroDeath right there. And indeed, when it comes down to the placement for Rogue Nation, it is ZeroDeath that is so very close into the vicinity that as soon as they try and get away from this position, it could very well be an onslaught brought in from the side of ZeroDeath, because it seems like Rogue Nation have absolutely no idea that there is a team so very close to them on the other tangent. I mean, again, this is a small zone, so many teams being brought on into this arena, it is going to get cumbersome, and it is going to get retaliatory for so many of these teams. On the other tangent, onto that one-man squad, we do see Cosmonauts India. I mean, a complete different play from the first game that Cosmonaut India showcased on Erangel. This time around, they've been caught off guard and been brought down to that knee pretty much with that one-man squad. So eventually that team will have to just work towards those placement points. But on the other side, when it comes to Rogue Nation and ZeroDeath, this is where our first contestation between these two can be expected. But on the other side of the map itself, it is Ronak's team who is taking on the players of Ixcel.
Exactly, and Assassin goes on there thanks to the M249 spray, but some lackluster performance again coming in from the sides of Cosmonauts India, and just because of that, they have been brought down to one man. But this grenade team, Ronak Summer, will be a big dent onto the players of Sixth Sense, and Sixth Sense needs to realize, but still the grenade was far away from the players was actually positioned, and since he has deployed the grenade, now Sixth Sense knows from where exactly the players can push in, and just because of that, Saga is using that preempted Sixth Sense grenade, but since he is also moving, it seems that he might find themselves in the grenade, and no, Saga, that unlucky guy, I can feel for him. I can feel for him. Summer, it's really hot for him. It's really tough for him to survive the situation. And he's facing the brunt of the situation. He's facing the heat with which Sixth Sense is striking. But I was talking about that. He should have preempted that. Some grenades were coming on the left-hand side. He shouldn't have gone there. But since now the circle has gone away from where Team Ronak and the players were actually there, ZeroDeath have also gone away from this area.
Well, with that, we move on with Team Ronak having lost one man over there. That is Summer. I mean, he was looking very much kind of in control. I would say not very much, but kind of in control. But eventually Sixth Sense's nade being on point, and at exactly that moment Summer also pushing on along resulted in him being sent back into the lobby, and with that, one kill being confirmed for the side of Sixth Sense Saga. So a GG play from him, but the fight is not yet done. In fact, it's just getting started. As we can clearly see in the kill feed, for Godawari are taking on a fight. We can clearly see PUBG Minions are also taking on an onslaught against the players of Illuminate, and PUBG Minions having lost Smith, or one of their players, are not looking too happy, and Magor is going to try his level best to take on this onslaught to the players of Illuminate, where indeed Illuminate are already at the receiving front. Two players have been knocked down, and now it is all down to ZeroDeath, and he will have to dominate against PUBG Minions, but will he be allowed to do so? As of now, none of the points of bullets have been deployed onto his team.
He lurked. He completely lurked. He was just waiting. Once he comes from that angle, it will be from the backhand side that one player will be taking care of. And yes, it was Falls that really took care of. As the player goes on, he will begin the revival. But the best part for them is that they are still pretty much strong with 3 men alive. They really have the gunpowder, because Smith was the one player that they lost. That means they have now taken the fights with all the 3 players standing. But onto the tangent, it is going to be ZeroDeath that now facing the brunt of NEPALZ. Since NEPALZ didn't have any sort of idea, Grenade is pretty much close to where there, and Shusi, just because he was on 20 HP, he will be again going down, and this is somewhere Nepal needs to take care of, as Bon is the player surviving from the backhand side. I don't see any other player in the same vicinity. I see in the minimap some players are already onto the backhand side, but that is a far-fetched approach with ZeroDeath. Pinning down the player with smoke in from different direction. This is not looking good. This is completely not looking good for NEPALZ, and they need to find themselves away. But still, they are in a circle. That means we can expect the fight to actually elongate and extend for a long time.
Well, with that, Team Ronak on the other side of the map being sent back into the lobby, and right here it is going to be ZeroDeath who are reigning supreme against the players of NEPALZ. NEPALZ were able to get that revival for themselves. Tango tried his level best to bring in the nade parade, but eventually that did not result in him getting a kill confirmed for himself, and now again finds himself in the exact same position that he did a few minutes earlier. With that, now it is NEPALZ's turn to try and bring in that onslaught in the utility name against the players of ZeroDeath, and in doing so, they are looking really comfortable. But it is only Tango that is part of this fight. When it comes to his teammates, we can clearly see that all 4 teammates are there, but where exactly are they? What sort of a flank angle have they created against this push coming in from the side of NEPALZ? And NEPALZ finally chiming in along. They have to be careful, because KTM is going to be behind them in the vicinity, and it could be a fight that KTM could take against the players of Nepal if NEPALZ are not careful.
Definitely, and if that happens, it is going to be Team Zero that will be getting the advantage of this situation with the third party situation. But once a moment ago, we just saw that circle, and in that circle, it was CNT Esports that was sitting in the right dead smack center before that shift happened. We still don't get to see the map. I would love to see if the observers are listening to us. We can get the map, and then it can be a more clearer picture to get to see which teams are actually inside the map. But still, it is again Team ZeroDeath, it is again Team Nepal that are getting the favor of the circle. They are sitting on the edge of the circles. Team ZeroDeath, I'm surprised to see the fight has been on and on and on for last 8 minutes, but no knock. No kill. Knock was there actually, but that wasn't confirmed. But no kill. That means they have lost a lot of time. But on the other tangent, it is going to be unstoppable 4 Godawari fighters that will be taking the fights, and they are looking pretty much strong at the moment. ZeroDeath on the other hand side, they should have pushed before, but since they have not, it is going to be Rogue Nation that has come in, and on the backhand side, it is going to be KTM. So now KTM, they really have a very big approach, because all those ridges don't actually allow you to make an entry into the zone. They need to make and find an entry into the circle and also onto the land first.
Well, again, when you talk about for Godawari, as you were saying, unstoppable that team is, and in doing so, they have brought down the players of T-Rex, just one player surviving on the other tangent. Now it is going to be Paradox, who have moved on again from that rotation that they made from the northern side, exactly onto the players of for Godawari, has resulted in for Godawari losing one of their leads, and eventually it is Paradox who is going to be in control of this fight and contestation. Eventually, when it comes to the zone itself, it is going to be a conversation about what sort of a play will Paradox make to get themselves in the comfort of the zone. But talk about for Godawari, well, it is only Sabine who is left to the cause.
Sandwich situation is what they are in pretty much at this moment, because from the backhand side is going to be CNT, and it is going to be 8 kills secured, 8 kill reigning supreme. Paradox, they are looking all berserk at this moment, as Hazer again is standing at 5th kill. That means he is that X factor that the team brings in, and he takes the fight in his own way. With the smokes getting deployed, he will try to loot out the crate, but needs to make sure that it is going to be CNT, and Wes is completely in that open situation. One more knock. Will that be secured with one more kill, as the players are helping them from the backhand side? But in all these situations, it is going to be one player that is still loitering, that is still in that limbo from the sides of for Godawari. Sabine, for how long, that is going to be the question. But the one thing that I was talking about, KTM, how are they going to be finding this mountain, how they are going to be trenching this mountain, that is still going to be the question. But Ixcel pretty much close from the backhand side. It is going to be also a third party situation where CNT might be pushed on. One grenade into the shack. There we go. Lux goes down and Salty goes down. This is putting spices. This is not looking good onto the players of CNT. Kills getting secured. It is also looking good for Ixcel with one more kill. Certainly going to good into the circle.
Well, what a play indeed it was made from the side of Ixcel, but eventually now they are going to be pushing that, again, that same sort of a performance against the players of Paradox indeed, and as they do so, Cosmonauts India have been lost to the cause. That one final player who was surviving has been eliminated with that CNT. I mean, they were looking very good when it came down to the previous zone, but now this time around, the circle has moved away and away from them, thus all the players have been lost, just one, which is going to be Vez on our screens. On the other tangent, you talk about, of course, PUBG Minions. Now that is a team that has also showcased a lot of synergistic plays, but this time around find themselves with just a one-man army as well. So a conversation that was looking really comfortable now it seems to have gone away, and it is none other than Paradox who are reigning supreme, kill after kill, knock after knock.
Definitely, but this time it is gonna be Ixcel's Para that will be taking the case in his own hand with those MK14s and those Kar98 shots. He is trying to take down the player, but still not able to dent at least one of the player damage. And now again, Para will he able to take them down? No, again he misses the shot again and again. He has missed 4 times the shot at least, but still a case that he needs to take care of, because he is in the open situation. He doesn't have that amount of smoke where he could have taken the fight, but he is just relying upon all these sniper actions. But since he is taking the shot, I guess one time he will be taken care of, as the last player is still standing, as the one player goes down, and he doesn't have any other option than to just find themselves behind these fortified areas, this destructive thing. KTM Rage on to the other hand side, they have been eliminated, and there we go. Playzone takes care, and he has also been sent down.
Well, I mean, you have to talk about resilience. He was trying his level best, but eventually was not able to bring in that bolt action. Eventually on this side, you talk about ZeroDeath. I mean, this team is also moving on along, trying to take on the fights, trying to take on the kills. NEPALZ, another team that has been trying their level best since quite a long time to bring in the onslaught for themselves, and in doing so, have now perfectly brought on that onslaught against the players of Rogue. And in doing that, it is going to be absolutely perfect play for Bote, because he is the man of the hour, where he's the only one remaining. Sushi has already been knocked. His teammate needs that revival, but eventually he is going to be also covered with one final player of Rogue, and that is going to be none other than Admiral. So a 1v1 situation is what Bote finds himself in.
Exactly, but for now it is going to be the destructed McLaren that will be obviously blocking his opening, and just because of that might be a case where he won't be finding himself on the open situation. And it seems that he actually don't want to find himself in the open situation, because once he gets in the open, it will be him that will be going down. And with this Rogue Admiral, one grenade kill is onto his way. With Straight or Fiji, 2 players surviving, 7 kill is what they are standing at the moment. They have a small little shack where they can take the cover for the moment, but for how long, that is going to be the question. That is going to be the question. But with 14 kills, I mean, this match is going all berserk for Paradox at this moment. In the last 3 games, they were not the team that were looking very much strong, but it was the last game where they got the chicken. Paradox, this time they have got the momentum, they have got the tone set up, and they have now tested the water in the last 2 games. Last game chicken, this game, this is the one team that is getting closer and closer towards a chicken, the best contender, and the analytics shows 50% of the total forecast goes into the favor, and the number of utilities to its perfection is also being used. With it seems Hazard is also the one-man army strong, as he has gotten 5 kills out of total 16. Look at the way the teams are strategizing. One player onto the flank hand side, 2-3 players from the backhand side, just in case if the player that has been sent for that one duty, if it doesn't do it, the rest of the 3 will do it.
Absolutely, straight out of Fiji on our screens right now, with the 2 players surviving in that small little shack, have gotten 8 kills confirmed for themselves. So a perfect outing for the side of straight out of Fiji as well. On the other tangent, you talk about ZeroDeath. We can see Tango 7, the man surviving right next to a blown up vehicle. On the other side, it is also a conversation to be brought on for the final player of course, for Godawari. That is going to be Sabine GG, and he is in a lot of trouble right now because Paradox's players are bringing in a lot of utilities against that final player of Godawari, and it's only a matter of time before Sabine will also be taken down, because for now it is Hazard who is right next to him. A lot of utilities were being thrown but not confirmed into a kill or a knock onto Sabine. For now it is a stalemate situation that these teams find themselves in. Straight out of Fiji are just being very, very resilient in terms of the way they've positioned themselves, but now they try and make a rotation because they are going to be outside the zone, and same was the conversation for Sabine with that Hazer, who was just waiting for that moment, has now confirmed that kill also with 6 kills is what Hazer is looking at from Paradox.
One more. Will it be one more? One more knock is what I expect from this looks of it, as yep, there we go. It seems that he has dealt a lot of damage, but on to the other tangent, it is going to be Tango that have put down 2 players down onto the knees, and Wiz goes down, and the also players are going down. So slowly and steady, Paradox are giving a lot of impediment, but from the backhand side, it was all easy for Para G1 from Paradox that will be taking care of, and this grenades will be dealing a lot of damage as Hazard has a humongous amount of grenades into its pocket, and he is taking care of him. And with this, the players are taking care sure that the players will be going down one by one, and Hazard, it seems that he is trying to end the things in fashion. He's just not even relying onto his bullets, onto his machinery, rather his arms and the force with which he is brought down. Will he able to throw one more pan and try to bring knock? That's what I expect. That's what I expect. Yep. But still not enough because there is a big tree trunk. But finally, it seemed that he has back-to-back chicken, 19 kill till now. This last kill will eventually help them to get to 20, and with 15 total points, I mean, this is something looking pretty phenomenal for the sides of Paradox. One more chicken back-to-back is where Paradox standing right now, and that is the timeline for Dar.
Wow. Wow, 20 kills, 15 points of course from the chicken dinner, 3077 damage, Paradox OCE. This team is exactly what the logo is depicting. I mean, this team just completely sucks the life out of you, and that is what they've been doing in the lobby. This is unbelievable play from Paradox indeed, and with that, the final game also, as perfectly mentioned by Ankit, going in favor of Paradox OCE, and a domination, a destructive annihilation is what this team showcased in this final game of the day. And with that, again, I mean, 20 kills is a bit too much,
On day one. I mean,
on day one itself. And
I mean, untrusted lobby where you haven't tried much.
Wow.
You don't know the rotations. I mean, a lot of factors to think about, but the way they held the nerves, they held the grounds, and they were just going all guns, because it's not just this game. In the last game of Sanhok also.
Yes, that is what the conversation is.
And one more thing, there was a lot of damage in that Sanhok.
Yes.
I mean, there is a lot of things to talk about this team.
Well, this is just day number 1 stats, but when it comes to the stats itself, of course, we do have to take a look at the valuable players. And talking about the MVP itself, right? I mean, you have to bring it to this team itself. I would say that the entire team is the MVP based on this final game. But, of course, MVP stats are going to be based on that one player. So let's have a look at the most valuable player coming in from this game, and which shall that be? Of course, I'm thinking it's going to be from Paradox itself.
Hazard again.
Could be, right? That's
because he got that
well.
6 kills, and he was using the utilities, and since he was dealing a lot of damage onto the player that was holding that tree trunk for the moment, he was also trying to take down the last player that you remember that find himself away from the shack angles. He used the shack, but he was just waiting for that right moment to strike at its beast.
Absolutely. I mean, this team, just perfect play being showcased from them. With that, let's have a look at the MVP coming in from this game.
Okay,
it is
Hazer. It is Hazer. Back to back. In the last game also, he was the most valuable player. It's no joke. Getting twice the title back into the fray, back to its own way. I mean, this guy is reigning supreme. I mean, just bamboozling the lobby complete. That's what I have this word for him, because that's an untried lobby for the day one, at least, I guess. I mean, things could have really turned ugly. This is where Paradox are actually trying to decimate the lobby. 937 damage, 6 kills, 25 minutes, 47 survival times. Healing Nun is also this good assistance. I mean, 4 assistance. I mean, not only he tried to pepper down the bullets, he was also the one that was taking care of the whole of the team.
Absolutely was, and with that again, I mean, this is the MVP, but move on to the top players coming in from this game. We do have his teammates chiming in along as well, where indeed it is going to be Queet coming in with 7 kills, 828 damage that he was able to dish out, along with, of course, the next 2 players as well, G1 and Wiz, 5 and 2 kills respectively. So wonderful, wonderful stats coming in to favor of Paradox, but alongside all of it, we also did, of course, have Straight Outta Fiji, and that team walked away with 8 kills, so a decent outing for Straight Outta Fiji indeed with that. Moving on to the match summary, Queet with the highest kill, G1, Para G1 with, of course, 266 longest distance, Hazer with 937 highest damage. This is just being completely dominated from the side of Paradox OCE. Every single start that we can see is in their name.
Exactly, a complete cataclysm is what Hazer brought down to the lobby, and just because of that we get to see him again finding in the maximum assist. And it's not easy, trust me. When you are taking the fight, you need to take the fight, and in that situation he was not only taking the fight, he has also gotten a huge amount of damage and also the assist that the team look out for, because at the moment there are teammates where they get knocked, but there are teammates where all of a sudden the team gets looked so low, but he made sure that the team won't be going down as G1 uses the most utilities. I mean, 28.
Yep.
Is it a joke? Just imagine the whole team, what the number could have been. Maybe closer towards 40, since he has to use 28, because single man used that utilities to its perfection, and 28. And it was not a place where he should have used, because there were a lot of big tree trunks, a lot of rocks. He was not in the open. They had the high ground advantage. Eventually, it was other team in the lobby that was on the receiving end. But for the moment, it is going to be the match ranking that is flashed with the Paradox OCE 35 total points and taking everything away. 20 kills, I mean 1/3. They have already secured.
Exactly, and with that, Straight Outta Fiji maintaining that second position with the 8 kills that they were able to get for themselves, and of course 4 Godawari fighters on that 3rd position. ZeroDeath, this was the lad who was all by himself that, of course, Hazer was able to pin down as ZeroDeath final player was making that run from the shack into the zone itself. But this time around, as we move on along to the second page, 6 Sense finding themselves that 1 kill. KTM Rage only walking away with that placement point. Same, of course, for Trex, and Illuminate crew nowhere in the picture, sadly.
Exactly, 0 is what they are standing at the moment, and that is a big O. Big O, not a wow, that is a big O for Illuminate crew for the moment, as we just get to see for the moment as we head towards the overall ranking post-match 4, where we get to see Paradox OC right there at the top.
With that, of course, PUBG Minions taking that 2nd position, but Paradox OCE, I mean, they have got 38 kills, and in that, of course, with the 40 placement points, 2 chicken dinners, find themselves with a decent lead of sitting at 78 points. So they are certainly moving away from the lobby based on the gameplay that they've showcased on day number 1.
26 point, I guess it's, if my maths are pretty much correct, is where Paradox OC are standing at this moment. But the thing is that now they have surpassed one big team that was of PUBG Minion Esports. They started dominating the lobby. Out of a sudden, the kill number is also the favoring them. That's not just the only point, the placement points that they are relying upon. It's the kill number that is also helping them getting close towards this match. But not much of a point difference between them and the team that is on the 9th position. But Team Ronak, I mean, the team, the way they started off the PMCO Wildcard region, that was just explosion. But somewhere down the line in the last 3 matches, they have lost the momentum, and just because of that, slowly and steadily, we get to see the red marker showing the dip of the performance. And since they are finding themselves at the 24th placement total points at the end of 4 matches, it's ZeroDeath that has gained a lot of total positioning, and they are at the 10th position. But certainly 6th Sense, again 4 match, maintaining the consistency that we talk about, 4 total points in 4 matches.
Well, again, I'm hoping that when this team comes back into the saga, things will be different for them. They did, I mean, we saw that clearly. The team was trying to take on the fights. They were trying to build up a bit of a synergistic play for themselves, but it's not easy. When you've got teams like, of course, Paradox, you've got teams that are doing so very good, then it becomes very, very difficult to get your feet settled in the ground itself. With that, as you move on to the kill leaders, it is, of course, Paradox OCE's Hazer right there with 17 kills in terms of the damage that he was able to dish out. Amazing, amazing stats being showcased all across the board for Hazer. But as you move away from Hazer towards straight out of Fiji, Jash is the man with 12 kills and of course 1797 damage in the average survival time of 22 minutes. But as we move on along, it is looking like an interesting turn of events where Paras Wheat also was part of it with 20 damage and 9 kills. So indeed, again, when it comes down to day number 1, there were a few of these teams, like for example, of course, we just mentioned Paradox OCE, there's PUBG Minions Esports, there's of course going to be Rogue Nation, who started off really well but kind of just faltered down as the day progressed on along. But that is just day number 1. Amazing, amazing teams, perfect plays being showcased. But now I cannot wait to see what Group C and D are going to be bringing to the table. But for that, we're going to have to wait just a little bit longer, because for the day, we are done. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. We will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.
Here we go now. 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 Go now. Here we 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 go now.